The president telling a hearing of Pennsylvania Republican state lawmakers today that he is the victim of election fraud.
This election was rigged, and we can't let that happen. We can't let it happen for our country. And this election has to be turned around.
His attorney, Rudy Giuliani, told the lawmakers that Republican poll watchers were deliberately kept away from the ballot counting.
In your state, Republicans were uniformly not allowed, kept out, put in chutes like they were cows to keep them away from seeing these ballots. Never happened before.
Giuliani also suggested that mail-in ballots were ripe for manipulation. State election officials have denied there was widespread voter fraud. A Pennsylvania state judge has ordered the state not to certify its election results. Pennsylvania's attorney general says a day late the results have been certified and the Electoral College electors selected. In a Thanksgiving Eve message, President-elect Biden again appealing for unity, saying Americans must steel our spines for a fight against the coronavirus.
Wearing a mask, keeping social distancing, limiting the size of any group we're in until we have a vaccine.
He assured the Americans the pandemic is not going to last forever. Wall Street, the Dow retreating from Tuesday's record high, losing 173 points Wednesday. The S&P 500 dropped 5 points. NASDAQ finishing 57 points higher. America is listening to Fox News.
Now on
this holiday season, more people will be mailing stuff than ever before. Stamps.com brings the post office and now UPS shipping right to your computer so you can mail and ship anything from the convenience of your home or office. With Stamps.com, you can print postage on demand and save money with deep discounts you can't even get at the post office. Like 5 cents off every stamp, up to 40% off priority mail, and up to 62% off UPS shipping rates. Print official stamps and labels right from your computer for any letter, package, or class of mail, anywhere you want to send. Once your mail's ready, schedule a pickup or drop it off. It's a no-brainer. Don't spend a minute of this holiday season at the post office. Right now, listeners get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale with no long-term commitment. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in Fox. Stamps.com. Enter Fox. Go right now to Stamps.com. Enter Fox.
Apple Podcast.
Schools in Baltimore are closed until further notice, not because of the virus, but ransomware that's locked up key information systems, hackers demanding money to unlock them.
What's occurred is very disturbing. We have 115,000 students relying on us to provide education and other opportunities.
Kathleen Cowsey chairs the Baltimore Board of Education and says there is no timetable for the students to return. In the midst of holiday travel, Los Angeles has begun requiring inbound passengers to sign a form acknowledging the state expects them to quarantine for 2 weeks. New York City limiting out-of-state visitors to those who can provide proof of a negative coronavirus test. Checkpoints set up at bridges and tunnels leading into the city. A New Jersey military veteran is accused of wiring money to terror groups.
Prosecutors say Maria Bell of Hopat Kong sent money to an Islamist militant group that was at one point aligned with Al-Qaeda. The FBI says she used mobile phone communication on
Email is easy, instant, and free, and that can be real embarrassing. Email lacks the eye contact and body language you get in face-to-face conversation, or the tone of voice and other nuance you hear in a telephone conversation. Email is just words, often few words. We're all smothering in spam, so we often reply in terse fashion that's easy to misunderstand. And email doesn't cost you a postage stamp, and it lacks the deliberation time it'd take to walk to the snail mail box. So it's easy to succumb to the "oh yeah" stimulus response trap. When in doubt, don't snap back at snippy messages you get. You may have mistaken the sender's intent. And unless you're sending AOL to AOL, there's no unsend. For more tips on critical communication skills for the way things are now, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
America is at a crossroads on many issues, leading many to ask, is it time for the president to blow the silver horn left behind by the Founding Fathers in case the country ever needed them? Of course, the horn, which has been sitting in the Oval Office since 1817, has never been used by a commander-in-chief, but many Americans think now might be the time to summon our forefathers. Which Founding Fathers would come back?
All of them. Look, when you have a bug problem, you call the exterminator. When you have an America problem, You call the Founding Fathers. They know what to do.
We have to keep in mind the Founding Fathers left us with a warning. If you blow the horn with less than pure intentions, it will turn to tin and can never be used.
But a president has to take risks, have the courage to admit that his administration is not all-knowing, and blow that magic silver horn to summon someone who is.
Yes, but what if we become too reliant on them and they disappear after the next new moon, as was written?
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live, the Thanksgiving Eve edition of the show. Welcome to it. That's right, we're here live.
We are.
And we will be here live again tomorrow and the day after that and throughout the entire holidays season because, you know what, we like what we do. And you're still out there, so you're listening to us. We appreciate you being there. So if you want to join the show, you can. The toll-free number tonight is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Of course, we've got plenty of terrible news regarding COVID crackdowns, and I actually have an opinion piece from Penn Jillette on leaving libertarianism.
Oh, good.
Which is sad news.
It is sad.
Let's start with the good news tonight, and that is out of Loveland, Colorado, where according to CBS in Denver, there are more than 65 Loveland-based companies that have now signed a pact that they will be staying open for business as Larimer County moves to level red restrictions.
Oh, no.
Level red on the state's COVID-19 dial is one step away from level purple. A complete shutdown and restricting restaurants from having any indoor dining or guests. The businesses that join the agreement believe the county and state are imposing restrictions which are unfair and unnecessary to small businesses. Quote, "We are not going to shut down," said Clay Caldwell, the owner of Betta Gumbo in downtown Loveland. He's used his business and kitchen to feed thousands of meals free of charge amid the coronavirus pandemic, and said that he joined the pact because the government was allegedly placing much blame on small businesses which may not have any record of COVID-19 spread. Caldwell told CBS 4, quote, "It's about fairness. Each of these businesses have families that they require to make money so they can live, and they have every right to do that."
It is. That's one of the most screwed up things about these coronavirus lockdowns is that it really only affects small businesses. I mean, sure, maybe some McDonald's.
Disproportionately, yeah.
Walmart's doing just fine. CVS is doing just fine.
I mean, JCPenney's going out of business.
Are they going out of
they're going
business
bankrupt.
Because of COVID-19
No,
or because just
they were dying prior to that, but this definitely accelerated it. I mean, there are definitely some big corporations that are not having a good time. I mean, AMC movie theaters, for instance.
Okay, fair.
They're down like 94% or something like that this year. So, yeah, I'd be surprised if they can survive this.
Well,
honestly.
I don't think there are any mom and pop stores that are having a good time.
No.
Let's put it that way then.
Yeah, it's definitely tough out there on the small business owner, and a lot of this burden is certainly resting on them. So it's sad, and that's why I'm really happy to see this story that small business owners are doing what they should have done 6 to 8 months ago.
Yeah, they should have never shut down the first time. But, you know, it's kind of problematic because even if they stay open, if people are afraid enough, they not
won't
going
come
to
in.
go. Yeah.
And that was the problem back when Georgia, which was the first state back in like June or something that was having, quote, reopening, which of course wasn't a real reopening. It was, okay, we can let 25% people back in, that kind of thing with all these restrictions. But still, it was promoted as reopening. And there was an article that we shared at the time that interviewed restaurateurs who said that, well, I know I can reopen, but I'm actually hearing from my customers saying that they would be upset if I did.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, because they're terrified.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure the lockdowns actually achieved anything solely for that reason. I mean, restaurants and bars here in Keene are overwhelmingly down in the last few weeks. And I think it's largely because of fear.
And a lot of them, they've said to us, I mean, I haven't spoken with a bunch, but the ones that I've talked to have said they feel like it's going to be really hard to get through this next one, that a lot of businesses are going to close. Those who were able to survive the first shutdown, now it's going to be round 2. And can they get through? I mean, how many times can you survive this? How many times can you get through being unable to serve your customers for some arbitrary amount of time?
I'm surprised any of them got through the first round, to be honest. I mean, it was, like 3 months of no income whatsoever for them?
It was several weeks at the very least, yeah. I mean, it was very, very low. for quite a while. I mean, they were still doing takeouts, but it was down big time. So he says, speaking on behalf of the growing list of companies agreeing to defy level red enforcement, said that he believed big box stores were unfairly being allowed to move forward with operations, while small companies with more direct oversight of guest safety are being chastised. He said, quote, "Here in restaurants and bars and small businesses across Loveland, we're being penalized and coming under a verdict which was unjust. That pisses me off," he said. Further, he said, "If we get any more sanitized in here, I could start doing surgery and make a hell of a lot more money." So the point he's making is that he's jumped through all the hoops. They've done all the stupid over-sanitization crap that, their customers are expecting or the state is demanding or both or whatever.
Well, they're a
restaurant,
restaurant, so they're probably doing all of that anyway.
Well, that's what I mean. Like they're trying to appease a certain crowd.
Sure.
The paranoid fear crowd, basically. I don't care. I knew that before COVID-19, restaurants were relatively safe. A lot of them are ServSafe certified, and generally you want to hire people that know better than to not wash their hands before they handle food, and in between certain food handlings. There's a basic set of rules that most restaurants follow pretty well. And now it's just gotten to the point of OCD everywhere, where they make a big show of sending somebody out with a spray bottle and a rag to wipe down every table and chair and whatever after every guest leaves, and it's just a big show.
I mean, it is for sure. There is no doubt about that. And it probably doesn't help at all because, spraying a little sanitizer on a surface and wiping it down for 10 seconds, if there's a virus there, that's not going to kill it in all likelihood.
Honestly, if I'm sitting there eating food, I'd rather someone not be spritzing a spray bottle full of chemicals right at the next table over next to me.
I would agree, but they kind of do that anyway.
I know, but they do it a lot more now. If you're ever out, I don't see it a whole lot these days at the places we go to because they tend to be a little bit on the cooler side. But I did see this early on. It's like, hey man, can you spray that over there? I don't know what's in that bottle, but I probably don't want it on my hamburger. So local brewer Morgan Harrington was one of those who joined the list. She accused the county of enforcing health guidelines based on the rise of COVID-19 cases across the state rather than focusing based on each individual community. She and the other business owners called on Larimer County and the governor to allow a 5-star program throughout the county, which would give qualified individual businesses the ability to operate under lesser restriction during a county-wide level red status. The concept was first proposed, adopted, and approved in Mesa County. Businesses are allowed to operate under yellow restrictions if the county goes to level red. We want that to happen in Loveland. So
that's so overly complicated, though.
Okay,
so it's level red, but if you jump through all of these hoops and submit your paperwork in a timely manner and you pay the government this amount of money, they will let you go ahead and stay open even though it's level red now.
That's how sad business owners are and how pathetic that they are. They are constantly begging the government for some sort of relief, rather than just doing what they want, rather than just acting like free people.
Well, the government has the guns.
They do, and they're scary, and I get it. Let's go to 888-976-EVIL. That's quite a mouthful for a name, but calling from Wisconsin, you're on Free Talk Live. Hello?
Am I speaking English?
I don't know. You tell me.
888-976-EVIL. Do we live? Do we have a pulse? Do we chase nightmares? Do we see anything that exists? Or are we unexplained research?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
This sounds like a pretty deep topic. You're going to have to rephrase that.
Unexplained research? Yeah, everything's a question. There's no answer to the cancer, is there? It's a nightmare that doesn't exist.
It's crazy.
A raised fist.
I think this guy's nuts.
Of nonconformity.
Okay. So are you just babbling words out of your mouth, or are you trying to make a point?
The point? A dotted line?
Yeah, this guy's nuts. Are you the guy that is in our chat room that just types random crap? Huh?
My name's Nobody.
No, your name's not Nobody.
I speak to you.
Your name's not Nobody. We know Nobody. He lives right next door.
I told you my name's 888-976-EVIL.
That's what you said.
That's my phone number. I play chess, and I watch you rest and play God.
Are you the guy who types all the confusing crap into the D-Live chat and the Twitch chat?
Is my name Ian Bernard? That be from
No, I don't think that's your name.
up to New Hampshire. Praise the Lord.
Okay, brother.
Ford, huh?
Pass the ammo.
Philadelphia. Ammo, huh? What, a 12 gauge? What kind of shotgun are we talking about? What are you packing, Ian?
I don't know, man. Just don't put it in your mouth, whatever you do, okay?
Put it in my mouth? Oh, how about now?
No, don't do
Fuck
that.
you up, buddy?
I don't know what you just said, but I'm going to hit the dump button on that just in case. So that person sounded pretty crazy. That was like crazy to the point where I didn't know what to do with him. It's Free Talk Live.
News from news.bitcoin.com. Early Bitcoin wallets cashing in. Is Satoshi back? Investment expert Dr. Doom calls Bitcoin a store of value. Bitcoin Cash forks. Everything's fine. Bitcoin price surges above 18,000 US dollars. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com. Free Bitcoin Cash when you download their wallet at bitcoin.com. Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. D-I-V-I project.org.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com. Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive, and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at baenbooks.com. Free Talk Live, the show where anyone can call about whatever they want. And we do mean anyone.
It's happening every day. They sip some kind of chemicals through the floor.
Oh, so it's like gas.
It sounds crazy, but it's the truth.
I was under the impression they were coming into your house and holding you down.
Well, they can come in. Oh, yeah, I got remote controls right now. I can't find them. I listen to this preacher man. Every time I listen to him, some kind of way they turns the station off.
Maybe it's just going off.
I mean, you'd be surprised.
They've got the remote, Mark.
How much power they have, and that's what they got. They got a lot of power.
I think you should go get some help.
I think you should talk to somebody who cares about you and ask them about psychological help. Somewhere, someone has had gas pumped into their room, but I just don't think it's happening with Mary because she's outspoken.
What does she speak out against? I should have asked her that.
I don't
Damn
know.
it.
You're done.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Live video of our Keene, New Hampshire-based shows is streamed on DLive. Please follow and share at dlive.lrn.fm. That's dlive.lrn.fm.
Yeah, it's Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll free to bring up whatever you want. And we did look up 976-EVIL, 888-976-EVIL, and apparently it is the old 1988 horror film directed by Robert Englund, the Freddy Krueger, the guy that played Freddy back in the day. Not the most recent Freddy, that was a new guy.
I also found that 976-EVIL 2 exists, and it's free on YouTube, and it looks really, really bad. Probably not as bad as some of the other stuff I've been watching lately, but I will probably end up watching this.
Now, why would you go watch the sequel if you've never seen the original?
Because the sequel is going to be way worse than the original. And,
but don't you want to get
that
like
kind of movie.
Whatever the setup was? Like, I mean, most movies you don't have to watch the prequels, but you.
The setup is that a phone number is being used to call Satan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that. I feel like I understand the setup enough to proceed to the sequel. Which is how I was with Killer Raccoons 2 as well. I mean,
you never saw the original.
I never saw the originals, but it's raccoons trained by the military to kill people. Understood. I can jump straight into the sequel.
Now, I mean, Killer Raccoons 2 doesn't sound like it was really following up a high budget, smash hit.
It definitely was not, but neither is this.
So. Well, I mean, at least the original was directed by Robert Englund. That's something, worth crowing about, right?
I find that as the number of sequels increases, though, the chances of the movie being so bad it's good also increases.
Really?
That's usually like I'll jump to Wrong Turn 6 instead of watching the first Wrong Turn because I know that by the time they get to 6, it's going to be the stupidest ideas anyone ever came up with.
Wow.
It's great. Yeah.
What are some of the longest running horror series?
Probably Halloween.
And Friday the 13th. There's been a bunch of those.
The Saw movies, if you count those. But
how many are there?
I think there's 8 now.
Okay. I think there's like at least a dozen Jason movies or Friday the 13th.
Sure, especially if you include reboots and all of that kind of crap.
If you want to join us here, you can. Our toll-free number. We can talk about, movies. That's fine, too.
I've been catching up on movies lately.
Yeah, I don't think that was the purpose of that last call. I don't know if he even had a purpose, but... You can join us as long as you can dial a phone number. We'll put you on the air here on Free Talk Live. Now, something you're going to need to check out when you get a chance, I recommend this highly, Bitcoin.com. And that is because Bitcoin, it's kind of a thing.
It's kind of a big deal lately.
Yeah, people are talking about Bitcoin. You're looking at, actually, it's down a little bit over the last 24 hours. It had peaked up at about 19,500, which is right around the all-time high. So, I mean, it's essentially scraped the all-time high within the last 24 to 48 hours. It's now down below 19,000 at the moment. So take some time out, take 10 minutes out of your life, go to Bitcoin.com, click on Get Started at the top of the page, and then there's a 2 or 3 minute long, just a brief overview that you can watch to get the kind of the basics on Bitcoin. And you can dig in deeper if you like. I mean, this is one of those topics where you can spend as much time on it as you want, or just spend a few minutes and at least get down some of the things that make Bitcoin different from the old money systems that we've been used to for our whole lives. That's one of the most important ideas, is to really get across concepts like blockchain and what that means, and what does it mean to be a decentralized currency? What is cryptography? And so it's a very interesting topic. Go to Bitcoin.com. If you aren't new to Bitcoin, then you'll find some other useful things at Bitcoin.com, like their news site, where you can get the latest news headlines about what's going on in the Bitcoin universe. Go to news.bitcoin.com if you want to check that out.
I would definitely recommend people do this sooner rather than later, because Bitcoin is a limited supply item. And
yes, that's right.
Demand for it is very quickly going to outpace supply.
Already has. According to the story that we were reading, in recent weeks, it was actually right when I think PayPal announced that they were going to be selling Bitcoin. There was other news that said that...
Well, they call it selling Bitcoin, but PayPal isn't really selling Bitcoin.
Well, they can't prove that they're selling Bitcoin. They're selling what they're claiming is Bitcoin on their site, but they're not allowing you to withdraw the
And
Bitcoin.
There's literally no reason to believe it's Bitcoin. It's just a number on a screen.
That's right. It will likely correspond with the market price of Bitcoin, but yes, you're right, Arya. There's no way to know that what they're selling you is actually Bitcoin, unless you can withdraw it from PayPal, which you can't. So therefore, it's just, like you said, it's a number in a database somewhere.
I would recommend not buying from any of these companies, but if you have to choose one, use Square, Cash App.
Because they will let you withdraw on Square?
They will.
But you still have to jump through Know Your Customer hoops, so just keep that in mind.
They're not as bad as you'll find on like Coinbase and Kraken and some of these others.
So you've done it. You've jumped through those hoops.
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
Until they banned me for life.
Right. For selling Bitcoin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I was a competitor.
Yeah, they can sell Bitcoin, but you can't sell Bitcoin through their site.
I actually rebought some of the Bitcoin that I sold through Cash App. So,
Nice.
I mean, they were benefiting from it.
Sure.
So what was their problem?
I don't get it.
I don't either.
I really don't. I don't understand it. Now we are seeing that the OCC, one of these governmental regulatory agencies for banks, has allowed banks now to hold custodial accounts regarding cryptocurrency for customers.
But why would customers want that? You don't need a bank to hold your crypto. You can hold it yourself.
Well, that's the thing, Arya. Not everybody wants to be independent. Right, so we value.
I will hold their Bitcoin for them.
Sure, but you're not an institution, so like people feel more comfortable. Look at all the people out there and how they are about safety now.
Yeah.
Right. So we're surrounded by people wearing masks and obsessed with sanitization, and they've gone OCD to the max. It's now cool to be OCD. These are the people that we're surrounded by. And
I was so sad when I went into a convenience store earlier and not wearing a mask, and the girl behind the counter put one on as I came in.
Yeah.
And you know what convenience store I'm referring to. And it's like,
oh, yeah.
You know me. Why are you even bothering with this?
Yeah.
But they still haven't said anything to me. So
yeah, it's a ritual, that they feel like they have to go through. I know the owner of that convenience store, as a matter of fact, and I was talking with him the other day, and he was telling he actually owns another place in town. Was talking about how business is way down, and had a mask on the entire time for the conversation. And then I saw him later outside in his car and talked to him, and he still had a mask on in his car. So it's just people are beaten down by this stuff, and I don't think he's actually afraid of COVID. I think he's afraid of the government, because
sure. Well, the government kills way more people than COVID does.
And they will kill your business, which is what we've been talking about here tonight, where in Larimer County, Colorado, a group of dozens of businesses, according to the story at Denver's CBS Local, it's more than 65 businesses now have signed a pact saying that they will remain open as the county moves into the so-called level red restrictions. And they ended up begging the county to give them special exemptions because, look, county bureaucrats, look at all the cleaning that we're doing. Well, see, we've got social distancing. We're requiring people to have masks. Look, we're jumping through all these hoops. Please just let us stay open under the so-called yellow level guidelines. Even though the county's red, we want a special pass. And I don't think there should be a special pass. They should just open up, and they should stop begging, and they should. And it sounds like they are saying they are going to stay open. So that much is good, and that's what I'm praising here. But it just doesn't go far enough for my tastes. I mean, I get it's a baby step, and maybe that's the kind of thing that they need to take, because as you pointed out, these government goons, they are scary people, and they will threaten you.
They will take away your licenses as well. I'm interested to see how this plays out, because that's what I expect the outcome to be, losing their, health inspections and crap like that.
And then how many of them will have the courage to stay open anyway? Because that's really when it comes down to it, is when they try to force you to stay closed. What do you do then? Well, I say look to that gym in New Jersey. They've been doing it right. More coming up.
Mounds and mounds of fur. Our hairballs have hairballs.
Our cat Mama, she's 10 years old. She has dandruff and an oily coat.
I have two cats, Sweet Pea and Daisy. Daisy sheds like crazy.
If you love your pets as much as I do, you want to do what's best for them, to live long, healthy, happy lives.
DINOVITE.com. I just tried this wonderful Catalicious Dynavite for cats, and my cat has been on it for 2 weeks. She is not scratching anymore. She's not chewing anymore. It is just the best.
I was thrilled when I heard Dynavite for cats was coming out, because I'd seen the changes in my dog. To introduce my cats to Dynavite, I took the advice from Dynavite and put their food on top of just a scoop in the bowl, just to get them used to it, because I know if I even switch one little thing, they put their nose up to it. There was not one problem.
Dynavite for life. You won't believe how happy your cat will be.
DINOVITE.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me. Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa, hey, who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait a minute.
Whoa.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable! Why are you running from me? Because you scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever you want here. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. I want to say thanks to Gary. He's a Free Talk Live Silver Amplifier. That means that Gary is contributing $5 a month to Free Talk Live's AMP program. AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. And it is a simple concept, one that allows you to get behind what we do here and help bring new radio stations on board, which is getting to be a harder task given that there's almost no one working at the radio stations these days. It's my day job is to call stations, and try to talk to the program directors. Well, because of COVID, for months, many of them have had absolutely no staff working in the building. But nonetheless, we're still putting the word out there. We're still doing industry advertising, and I'm still making the calls. It's just aren't as many program directors. I don't know what's going to happen to this. We were talking earlier about big corporations are doing fine. That's definitely not true in the world of media. So I'd mentioned AMC theaters. They're down big time. At least some radio stations still have some revenue that's going on because there's still some people advertising, still listeners, right?
Right.
But a lot of these station groups, these mega corporations like iHeartMedia, they are the hardest ones to reach. It's actually easier to reach the smaller businesses, the ones that own just a handful of stations. They're more likely to have somebody doing something in the office. Most of these iHeartMedia stations I call, there's not even a secretary. There's no one answering the phone. You have to know what extension to dial, that kind of thing, to get to the program directors. And even then, most of them aren't there, not answering the phones, working from home. It's bad.
Well, hasn't radio been on sort of a decline for a while anyway?
I mean, old media generally has been on, I think, a general decline. Everything from cable television to broadcast radio.
Newspapers.
Old newspapers are the worst off of all of them. In fact, we've seen a number of those die already this year. Of course, again, some of those were dying anyway. This just may have hastened their demise. But man, it's not easy out there for these big radio station groups because they've got a ton of debt. And they
see, that's where they made their mistakes.
Yeah, that was a big mistake on their part. We do not have debt, so we're going to continue on through this, which is at some point may benefit us, right? So, like as these stations are going down, or as these mega owners are going under, they're going to have to sell off the stations. They'll have to sell them at pennies on the dollar, and maybe some more locals will be able to pick them up and do something with them.
That would be great.
Yeah, and also a lot of them have syndication networks as well, and so if they start to go out of business, then that means a lot of those shows are probably going to go under too, which anytime a show goes down, that gives us the opportunity to take some of their stations. So we're going to weather the storm here, I think, but man, it's
there's no doubt we will.
Yeah, it's rough out there. So if you want to help us with that, then join up with the AMP program like Gary has done. You can go to amp.freetalklive.com, amp.freetalklive.com. And you can contribute $5 a month. There's debit card, credit card, PayPal, and also Bitcoin BTC as your methods. So once again, it's amp.freetalklive.com. We're talking about what's going on in Larimer County, Colorado, where 65, at least, businesses have come together and signed a pact saying that they are going to stay open regardless of the government's so-called red zone or level red restrictions that have apparently recently been shoved down people's throats in Larimer County. The businesses have been begging, however, also the government to implement a 5-star program which would give qualified businesses the ability to operate under lesser restrictions. So it's basically a program that allows the businesses to show how obedient they are and all the hoops that they're jumping through. Just please, 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 government, just let us stay open and try to make a living.
I don't think it'll help, though, even if they do stay open. Well, I don't think the 5-star thing will help. I don't think staying open without authorization will help, because once the government is the one peddling the fear here, they're the ones setting the fear levels. When they impose a level 3 lockdown or a red level lockdown or whatever they want to call it, people become too afraid to actually go out to restaurants anyway, whether the restaurant is open or closed.
Yeah, and the question is, what portion of people are like that?
Well, clearly most of them.
Yeah. It could be.
So we have to attack the fear, I think, that the government is using as a weapon to control.
What's the most effective way to do that?
I don't know.
I mean, because you can set an example, right?
Sure.
So that's the easiest way to do it, is to just go around, walk around downtown with no mask on, go into businesses with no mask on, and refuse to put one on, and tell them you're exempt from it, and just go about your business as normally as you possibly can, and hope that other people could be inspired by that. I have heard stories, individual tales of people going into a business, seeing somebody with, or being the person with no mask on, and then encountering somebody who has a mask on, and there's like a pleasant encounter, not like a hostile one, because obviously there's people who are hostile towards those wearing no mask, but somebody who, for some reason, there's a conversation and it leads to the person saying, hey, you don't have to wear that, right? And then the person actually taking the mask off.
Well, we see this sort of all the time here in Keene with all of the crosswalks and stuff like that. We see people waiting even though traffic is clear, because that's what they're supposed to do. That's what the authorities said.
They don't have the green light.
But as soon as, someone like us comes along, we just walk across because there's no traffic anyway.
Yep.
That's when they will follow.
They follow. It happens almost every time.
So I think you may be right. Leading by example may be the only way to do it.
I think that's the most effective direct route of action. Obviously, it helps to have more people leading by example, because it is ultimately a numbers game. If you have half the people in a given place that aren't wearing masks, the feeling is different, right? As opposed to if you're the only person in a store with no mask on, and you're surrounded by people who you can't see their face, and it's just this bizarre kind of feeling that you get from that. It's not as bad if it's 50-50. If it were 75-25 of people not wearing masks, then it would be like, oh, whatever, no big deal. Because
well, that's how it was initially, right? And it still bothered us then.
It did.
Even when it was like 1 in 10 people wearing a mask.
I don't even remember it being that light. I mean, how long ago was that?
It was pretty light in the beginning. It was like almost no one was wearing masks, but then they just gradually creeped into our lives.
Yeah. And I don't know.
Last night, while entering CVS, I saw someone leaving without wearing a mask. And of course, I wasn't wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And that was probably the first customer I've seen in person somewhere in months shopping without a mask.
I make a point of saying something to those people, something positive. So, like, my favorite line right now is, "It's nice to see a smiling face." Even if they're not smiling, they will smile. They will
smile after that.
When you say that, and so it's just kind of like, it's sort of our equivalent of the mask complimenters. So, like, the people, I think we talked about this the other night.
Yeah. Oh, your mask is so pretty.
I love your mask. Oh, Red Sox. Oh, yeah. Whatever it was that they say to one another to pump up their experience. So this is like a way to sort of rescue the people that are like us with, hey, give them a little bit of positive feedback, because it's a lonely world out there for the free face. For somebody who is walking around as normal in a sea of masks, it is depressing.
I have never found it to be depressing, but
I do. I'm not easily depressed.
I don't look at it in those terms, though. I walk around Main Street not wearing a mask all the time, and I don't think anything about the fact that I'm probably literally the only person out there not wearing a mask. The thought just doesn't occur to me.
It's not that's the depressing thought, although that is kind of a sad thing. It's just more of like a sadness for those people. Like, I feel like, man, just down that people could be so easily manipulated and so victimized by fear mongering, and it's just you can't get away from it. The only way to get away from it is to go into, like, there's a few places that you can go into where there's no problem with, no masks or whatever, where, like, at downtown's Pho Keen Great, the local pho noodle place, there's no sign on the door. There's another little fry
and they rent
place
from the city, by the way,
which is awesome. Yeah, there's no signs on the door. The owner will not wear a mask. Doesn't matter if the customer wants her to put a mask on, she won't do it. So that's like the respite from the rest of the world, basically. And it's just, I just have to shake my head. It's like a face palm every time somebody walks by me with one of these masks on. It's like, really?
People out there walking their dogs in masks. No one in sight, but they're wearing a mask.
855-450 free like freedom. You can join us here. It's Free Talk Live.
Are you afraid to go to the mailbox because of letter after letter from the IRS? Are they stacking on more and more penalties and interest? By now, you know the problem won't go away on its own. Don't let the IRS chase you to your grave with penalties and interest and liens and levies. You need real help now. I'm Dan Pilla. I wrote the book on tax debt settlement, and I help thousands of people solve tax problems they thought couldn't be solved. I can help you too. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to my website, danpilla.com. That's danpilla.com. danpilla.com.
It's not over. Sadly, our nation is going through tough times again, with no end in sight, and nobody knows what might happen next year. That's why it's a good idea to plan ahead so you aren't caught off guard. Nothing's more important than having enough food to eat, and we're here to help. We're My Patriot Supply, America's leading emergency preparedness company. We provide long-term emergency food that lasts up to 25 years in storage. When grocery stores run empty or disasters strike, our foods will be there when you need it most. Act now and secure at least a 4-week emergency food kit full of tasty meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. We have dozens of emergency food storage kits to choose from. When the government tells you not to go out, you can have the peace of mind that comes from being prepared. When you order from MyPatriotSupply.com, your food will arrive discreetly at your doorstep in no time. Prepare today. Time is short. MyPatriotSupply.com. That's MyPatriotSupply.com.
What if you could cut your heating bills this winter with your existing wood-burning fireplace and not spend thousands doing it? You can with Great Wall of Fire fireplace grates. Our U.S. patented made-in-America Wall of Fire grates increase fireplace efficiency, eliminate fireplace smoke problems, and come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. See our grates in action and get free shipping from walloffire.com or call 800-274-7364. Fireplace heat without fireplace smoke. walloffire.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You're invited if you want to join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. The 65-plus businesses in Larimer County, Colorado that are supposedly joining a pact to stay open. They actually include in this story from CBS Local the letter that they sent to Governor, what's his name, Jared Polis there in Colorado. We can share that coming up with you here in a moment. With you tonight, it's Ian.
And Aria.
And don't forget, you can join us online over at freetalklive.com. Be sure to follow us on our video streaming platforms. We're over on DLive at dlive.lrn.fm. And we also are on Twitch at twitch.lrn.fm. You can follow us on either one or both of those and watch the show live or later on via an archival option. So we're going to go back into your calls and thoughts, and we can tell you more about what's happening in Colorado. But first, to Indiana, where Kirby is on the line. Go ahead, Kirby.
Good evening, folks.
Hey there.
Hey, I'm gonna start on Mask World. Aria says she sees people walking their dogs wearing a mask. I see it every day. I work downtown, and every day, if I see 10 people walking their dog, half of them wearing a mask. I tried to go to the bank last Friday. I have to make an appointment to walk inside the bank now.
Yeah.
We had that briefly here.
Can you believe that?
Some banks are still
Really?
that way. So a friend of mine went to a bank today, and she was trying to open an account, and she had to get an appointment to do that. So she had gotten the appointment today. And there was actually a police officer at the door of this bank who was essentially operating as a doorman, presumably on moonlighting. You know, sometimes cops will do like private security gigs on their off time, but there's, for whatever reason, they're allowed to wear their police uniform when they do that. I don't know if you've ever seen that happen at like a club or something like that.
I have not, and I don't like that at all.
Yeah, so this cop was... Sorry, go ahead, Kirby.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say we have them that work at my job. There's one here every day. Makes $50 an hour to be here too.
Wow, that's a lot. So yeah, they're getting paid quite a bit in that case. But this cop was apparently supposedly counting the number of people that was inside the building and stopping people from coming in if there were already too many, quote, too many that were inside the building. But he was, quote, being nice and letting people inside the vestibule since it's cold outside, right? Like it's almost freezing
like 20
cold.
degrees.
Yeah. So
well,
go ahead,
they
Kirby.
won't even let us in the vestibule.
Yep. So what else? Tell me more.
Silver Dave. You familiar with Silver Dave?
Of course.
I should say is it okay. I love this guy. I love what he's doing. I love the way he's doing it.
For listeners that aren't familiar, Silver Dave is a former co-host. He has hosted a few shows with us here on Free Talk Live, and we've had him on as a guest. He is the guy behind Gun Church here in New Hampshire, which is I think every other week gun gathering where people shoot various different guns at a fairly large range, and there's usually dozens of people that attend this. Is that what you're referring to, Kirby?
That is exactly who I'm referring to. And it actually goes along with his former employment, because that's what they're supposed to do. That was one of the things, that it's a rumor anyway, that Kennedy told them that he required of them in order to get their headgear, because the Army didn't want to have it. And they're supposed that the story is that he charged them with teaching us how to defend ourselves.
You're talking about the military?
Yeah, the Green Berets.
Okay.
The military didn't want them to have that headgear, but Kennedy was real big on them. He started them. And the story goes that at some point before he was killed, he made it the Green Beret a unit citation, so the Army can't take it from them, and told them that their job essentially is to help us defend ourselves when this government goes rogue.
I had not heard that before. That's interesting. So what you're saying is Silver Dave, as a former Green Beret, actually took that role seriously, and now that he is no longer with the military, he is doing that job and helping train people on defense tactics and things like that.
Yeah, if the rumor I was told is true, exactly. He's doing what he's supposed to do. And the last thing I want to bring up is a book by a brother named John Mosby. He's in the same league with Silver Dave. Good book.
What is the name of the book?
The Guerrilla Gunfighter, Volume 1 and 2.
There you go. Kirby's recommendations. Thanks for the call tonight, man. I appreciate hearing from you. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. Now, look, I understand, and I think it's absolutely your right to defend yourself if you are attacked. I don't think that violence ultimately is going to solve the problem of the government, because all you're going to do is just create a vacuum, and then more people are going to fill that vacuum.
Yeah, you'll just get a new government.
Yeah, they actually may be even worse than the ones that you eliminate if you're using violence in that particular case. But I do like the idea of non-cooperation, and I do like the idea of civil disobedience and people ignoring these government bureaucrats. And that's where these business owners are failing in Colorado with this pact to stay open with 65 businesses. I mean, it sounds great on its face, right? Like the headline, businesses form pact to stay open. Okay, cool, great. If that's actually what they're doing, then that's good. And some of them sound like they're pretty serious about it. So one of the guys they interview here at CBS Local, one of the business owners said he has no intention of closing down and will take this battle as far as necessary in order to protect his employees, business, and his fellow entrepreneurs. But on the other hand, there's also this letter where they're trying to beg the government goons there for permission to stay open. So it's sort of like of a dual mind, right? Like on one hand,
it's like we want to stay open. We're going to stay open either way. So give us your blessing, or
that's
not.
Kind of what it seems like it might be, but it's when you read the actual letter to the governor, it's more begging than it is anything else. So let me go on here.
It's the wrong spirit for sure. It should be. We're going to stay open or not. You can accept it and give us some magical waiver so that you feel better about it, or you can ignore it.
Yeah, we prefer. This is okay. So here's what the bureaucrat from Larimer County, Katie O'Donnell, said in a written statement to CBS 4, quote, "We prefer to work with the local businesses on this, but the state has made it clear they'll pull retail food licenses for non-compliance. That's what we're trying to avoid, as a minimum revocation is at least 60 days, and they would be completely closed." So what she's saying there is, hey, look, we're just going to close you down into the red zone here for, it's just going to be a couple weeks. So you can just close down for a couple weeks like we tell you to do, or we're going to close you down for 60 days. Which one's it going to be?
Yeah. Well, that's not surprising. You know, that's what the bureaucrats do. The moment that you had to have a bureaucrat's permission to open the store was pretty much the moment you had to obey whatever the bureaucrat told you to, because they had something over you that they could take away.
And you asked for that, right? Like, you asked for the license. So when you ask for something, when you supplicate yourself in front of another person or group of people, when you beg for some sort of benefit, in this case, the ability to open a business without having men with guns show up, because that's what a license ultimately is, then you are asking for something, and you will do what they say. And you will continue to do what they say, and this is proof of it. But then again, I don't blame a business owner for doing that, because, well, they know they're going to get targeted if they just open up a business, because then somebody else who also already went through the licensing process, they're going to call up and say, hey, so-and-so's business is open. They don't have a license. I got my license. You need to go shut them down. So then you get the abuse victim mentality going of, you know, turn the victims against the other victims, right? Like
I had to jump through all of those hoops, so should they.
Right. I had to pay all these costs to jump through the hoops, and so it's not fair that they can just open up without doing anything. And so they turn the slaves
against each other. Did they not realize that they could have just opened up without doing all of that too? That they chose to get permission?
Right. And because all of them have made that choice, it's the norm to make that choice. And so therefore anyone who actually doesn't make the choice is an enemy to the status quo, and everyone turns against that person. And here we are, where now businesses are so afraid that they won't even open their doors without a permission slip. So she says, furthers the bureaucrat again. She says, we've already asked to be approved for a 5-star program like Mesa County's. We were told none are granted in the red statuses. Mesa's was granted when they were in Protect Our Neighbor, and it was allowed on a trial basis, she said. Every business in Colorado has to follow our laws. Actually, I'm sorry, this is the governor who says every business in Colorado has to follow our laws. This is not political, said another. This is because we care about our community. Now, one of the business owners again says, quote, I will not let my staff go hungry or without a roof over their head for Christmas. They have a right to survive. I'm here to say don't tread on me. I am going to survive. My people will prosper. Our community will grow stronger. And this will happen because we all have a portion to do. That's the kind of talk I like to hear.
That's strong sentiment.
Yeah, 855-450 free. I hope he can back it up with action. And that action is simple, at
we
least
know the
initially.
state will bring action.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's Free Talk Live.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be a part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for people to use it for everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that is as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
A presidential pardon. I'm Jack Callahan, Fox News. For former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, President Trump announcing it on social media. Flynn had pled guilty to lying to the FBI, later tried to recant that plea. The Justice Department, saying there was no legal basis for it, had asked the judge to drop the case.
What has always made this case so unique is the fact that you had the prosecution and the defense on the same side saying they want to drop this case. The Department of Justice said they wanted to go through the process with the judge, but ultimately they got their wish granted tonight. This case is now over.
Fox's David Spunt.
What happened here, this is not the United States of America, what happened, and I think everybody knows that.
President Trump appearing by phone today for a hearing with Pennsylvania state lawmakers into vote counting following the election.
Rudy Giuliani says the alleged fraud happened not just in Pennsylvania, but in other close states, Georgia and Michigan among them.
Primary device were the mail-in ballots,
of which Giuliani claimed
the mail-in ballots that were received were not inspected at all by any Republican. They were hidden from Republicans.
Secretary of the Commonwealth Kathy Boockvar, a Democrat, tweeted Tuesday after certification that every qualified voter's vote was counted.
Fox's Gernal Scott. On the eve of the holiday, last-minute pleas from some big city mayors to cancel large gatherings. Chicago's Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
I'm urging you not to engage in your normal Thanksgiving plans, to keep it limited to your immediate household.
New York City posting checkpoints at bridges and tunnels to limit out-of-state visitors. Mayor Bill de Blasio.
The second wave that is bearing down on us more every day. We have to fight it back.
Denver's Mayor Michael Hancock urging residents in a social media post Wednesday to avoid travel, even as he boarded an airplane. America's listening to Fox News.
You've had enough to deal with this year, so don't overthink your holiday gifts. Since we've all been living in our sweatpants anyway, it's time for some pro-level Tommy John loungewear. I'm Erin Fujimoto, co-founder of Tommy John, and this year we're making sure you can give the gift of comfort to everyone on your list and yourself with Tommy John men's and women's loungewear. Say goodbye to old stained sweatpants. Tommy John loungewear is luxuriously soft and guaranteed to fit perfectly, with the same level of comfort and innovation that goes into everything we make. Plus, our loungewear, pajamas, and underwear come in limited edition prints perfect for gifting, but they sell out quick, so order soon.
And there's no risk with Tommy John's best pair you'll ever wear or it's free guarantee. Shop Tommy John's Black Friday sale now to make sure your gifts arrive by the holidays. Go to TommyJohn.com/Fox News for 20% off site-wide. Get 20% off for a limited time only at TommyJohn.com/Fox News. See site for details.
President-elect Biden offering a holiday message today.
This is a time to steel our spines and redouble efforts, President-elect Joe Biden said in a Thanksgiving address warning rising cases of coronavirus could continue for months.
I know the country has grown weary of the fight. We need to remember we're at war with the virus, not with one another, not with each other.
The president-elect says he'll spend Thanksgiving with a smaller than usual gathering, just his wife, daughter, and son-in-law. Until there is a widely available vaccine, Biden says wearing masks and practicing social distancing remain our most effective tools. Jared Halpern, Fox News.
The Trump administration has effectively killed a proposal for a gold and copper mine in Alaska that would have been as deep as the Grand Canyon. The Army Corps of Engineers ruling the mine near the headwaters of a salmon fishery is contrary to the public's interest. Following the lead of the FAA and European regulators, Brazil's aviation authority has lifted.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
U.S. officials assure Hong Kong that their protest is just one of many issues the White House is staying silent on, and an old guy at a hostel is down to party. This is the Onion Week in Review. Stunned officials from the Marine Conservation Institute announced this week that the past half-century of climate change and habitat loss somehow hasn't managed to take down the parrotfish. Biologists stress that despite destructive chemical runoff, rising ocean temperatures, and overfishing, the persistent little shits were somehow plugging right along like nothing had even happened.
You look at the oil spills, greenhouse gases, and God knows what else we're throwing at them, and you think, yeah, those subtropical should have been wiped out decades ago. But nope, these sons of bitches are still around and doing better than ever.
In other news, a grasshopper is dismembered by a future Supreme Court justice. A man having a great time will soon have to apologize to everyone, and Rand Paul pretends to be asleep so his dad will carry him in from the car.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything that you want. All you have to do, dial in toll-free and take control of the airwaves. Our number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We have also our Matrix chat server where you can interact with other Free Talk Live listeners over at chat.lrn.fm. That's not actually the server. That's where you can go to get a web page that tells you how to join the server. There's a few steps you got to jump through, but once you get it up and running, it's pretty sweet, pretty easy to use, and it's there 24/7. Allows you to call in as well, and you'll sound almost like you're sitting here in the studio with us tonight. You've got Ian
and Aria.
So just a final thought here, a final observation from the Denver story, Loveland, Colorado, where in that county they are looking at, I guess they're moving to what they call the red district or level red restrictions, and many business owners facing immediate shutdown as a result of this are saying, you know what, we're going to have a pact and we're going to stay open. 65 plus businesses have signed the pact to stay open, but I haven't actually seen the pact. I mean, unless it's just
would they really publicize that? I mean,
they have the list right here. So I'm looking at the list according to CBS Local in Denver. So what they include is the very bottom of the article that we've already read. So if you're just tuning in, please grab the archive later at freetalklive.com. But there's some talk of like, hey, you know what? We're going to do what it takes. We're going to support our employees. I won't let my staff go hungry, for instance, says one of these business owners. And then they include the letter that they wrote to local and state officials. And it's written apparently by the local lawmakers, and then has a pact to stay open. So the pact to stay open is just like this list of businesses. It doesn't say anything about what they're going to do. It just says Loveland businesses included in pact to stay open, and then all these different businesses there. The letter itself basically begs the governor for this 5-star variance program that they were trying to pitch, where it shows that they've gone through all these, quote, above and beyond requirements, enforcing mask wearing, social distancing, specific cleaning, etc., etc. And so they're hoping to get this 5-star thing, but at the same time they are saying that there's a pact to stay open. So it's not real clear what exactly they're doing, what they're going to do if the government goons try to shut them down, how they're going to operate. If the government gang says, all right, well, we're just going to take your restaurant certification, or
which is what the bureaucrats said.
Yeah, that's what the county bureaucrat said. The county bureaucrat said the minimum revocation is at least 60 days. The state has made it clear they'll pull retail food licenses for noncompliance, and they will be completely closed. So the county bureaucrats are trying to say, hey, look, just do what we say.
That's just a different government organization telling you, hey, you have to close, though.
Right.
If you're going to disobey one of them, why not go ahead and disobey them both?
I know. And you know what? Unfortunately, it's going to have to come down to this, where business owners, look, I get why you don't want to disobey. I get it. I understand that it's scary, For instance, we were talking, you weren't there for this, but we were talking with a local business owner that said specifically he doesn't want to go to jail.
Well, no one wants to go to jail.
Right. A lot of people really don't want to go to jail. They are afraid of what jail is like. And you know what? In Cheshire County, it's not that bad. The joke here is we call it the Keene Spiritual Retreat. Okay, there's some bad jails out there you don't want to be in. That much is true. This one, it's not so bad.
I would understand that sentiment if in Manchester, for example, but here in Cheshire County, yeah, it's...
But people don't know. They don't know that. It's scary. If you've never been to jail, then it's a really intimidating kind of thing for most people.
Well, that's by design.
Yeah.
I mean, they want you obedient and compliant when you get there.
And it works.
Well, for some people.
Well, okay. We're exceptions to that rule. But both of us, I presume you've been to jail at some point in life, right? So I've spent almost 60 days of my life behind... Well, I've spent more than 60 days of my life behind bars, but on one stint, it was 58 days. And that was for civil disobedience.
I haven't done that much time. It was all for contempt of court.
But I went to jail for that too. But you don't know really what it's like until you know what it's like. Yeah. And so it is an effective tactic to scare people into compliance. So not only are they afraid of losing their business, but they're also afraid of going to jail. Because then you can't run your business if you're in jail, and you can't really do much of anything else. So I get it. I understand why you're frustrated. But if the government gang keeps pushing you, and keep shutting you down, at some point it's going to become past the point of no return, where you won't be able to survive it, that your business won't be able to come back from whatever the imposed shutdowns and arbitrary rules, and because every arbitrary rule the government puts on you is just another cost.
Yeah. And they're never going away.
No.
I don't think people realize that. None of this crap is ever going away. The government's never going to undo the amount of power it just gave to itself.
Right. And it certainly isn't going to go away if you keep doing what they tell you. As long as you do, when the man says dance and you dance, well, you better keep dancing.
Yep.
You know? And
because the man didn't tell you could stop.
Right. And he's going to add more moves to the list. You know? Because the man gets off on this stuff. They really do. These little bureaucrats.
I mean, this is what they exist for. They love it. That's why they become bureaucrats.
It's sick. But
it is.
That's the way it is. And people are very obedient. So what is going to happen is some of these business owners are going to get pushed to the point where they're going to have to close. If you don't resist at that point, then you deserve to fail. If
you're faced with failing because you're closed or failing because you stood against the government and they closed you, the risk is non-existent.
At that point, you're going to fail.
The outcome is going to be the same either way. Right. Might as well go down fighting, right?
That's how I feel about it. And I hope that some of these business owners can finally see that clearly. Because right now they're still like, well, I don't want to cross that line. I don't want to take that risk. You've already taken all kinds of risks.
Life is all about risks.
Well,
that's going to happen.
That's the thing.
And some of them are going to prove to be bad choices.
But business owners, more so than your average person, understand risk, right? They've taken risks. They got a loan probably to open up their business from a bank or a loved one or whatever, right?
Sure.
They put a lot of their own capital. If they didn't take a loan, they already had some money saved up. They put their own money on the line. All of that is tremendous risk.
Yeah.
Which is why they want to jump through the hoops, because they don't want that criminal gang to come in and ruin everything that they put. So I get it. You've got $500,000 invested in your bar or whatever. You don't want to lose it. I get why you don't want to obey, or why you do want to obey. I get it.
But the government's going to kick in your door and shut you down either way.
Yeah, except this, if they shut you down and you obey and obediently shut down, then you probably won't have your door kicked in, but you're still out of business. And look at these guys in New Jersey, okay? If you want to have some idea of what's possible, look at the Attilis Gym in, I forget the name of the town, but it's spelled Attilis, so it looks kind of like Atlas, but it's not Atlas, it's Attilis. Anyway, the Attilis Gym in New Jersey, it's the one gym that's been making headlines for doing ballsy stuff like staying open despite being put in jail. They were put in jail. They had the government come and change locks on their doors. They took their doors down. The government came and put plywood over the open doorways. The dudes got out of jail after a contempt of court. They were put in for contempt of court. They got out. They came in and kicked in the plywood and brought their brought their exercise equipment out into the parking lot. Well, now the exercise equipment is back inside. There's been a new video that he posted recently. I don't know if you've seen this one, Arya.
I have not.
But these guys
are hardcore, though.
They are hardcore, and they are exactly what business needs to be like, where they know their rights, and they're going to act like they know their rights, and they're willing to take the consequences that come from those actions, which, again, have included being arrested at this point. And there was a really, impressive video that he posted. I found his Instagram, and that's where I saw this. And I'll see if I can pull it up on the actual studio computer here so you can see the audio. But he basically gives a quick set of instructions to business owners as to how to open during a pandemic.
Ooh,
and
that sounds good.
So we'll share that with you coming up here in moments. And you can share your thoughts with us as well. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And you're welcome to take control of the airwaves. Join us here. This is Free Talk Live.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org. News from news.bitcoin.com. Early Bitcoin wallets cashing in. Is Satoshi back? Investment expert Dr. Doom calls Bitcoin a store of value. Bitcoin Cash forks. Everything's fine. Bitcoin price surges above 18,000 US dollars. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com. Free Bitcoin Cash when you download their wallet at bitcoin.com.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by DJ Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Bain Books at BainBooks.com.
Every year, over 1 million fires burn in America. Fortunately, firefighters are on the job, saving life and property, and you can be a part of it. 7 out of 10 firefighters and emergency responders are volunteers. There's no typical firefighter. Anyone can volunteer to serve their community. Volunteering as a first responder is really about having the heart and drive to make a difference where it's needed most. Your community needs you. Are you ready to answer the call? Learn more and find local volunteer opportunities at makemeafirefighter.org.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, dial in toll free and bring up whatever you want here. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Want to tell you a little bit about Divvy. It is a cryptocurrency, and there are a lot of cryptos out there, so this is one that we would recommend you take a look at. So far for Free Talk Live, we've had a relationship with Divvy now for over a year, and it's been pretty good for us, actually. I think we got some Divvy from them to buy the advertisements back in August of last year, and it was less than a cent per Divvy at the time, US dollar price for Divvy. And I think currently, I haven't looked in the last few days, but the last time I looked, it was like 3 cents.
Nice.
3-4 cents, somewhere in that range. It has peaked up to like 8 or something over the last year, so it's been a pretty good year for Divvy. And it's super easy to run a masternode. So if you've ever thought about running a masternode for cryptocurrency, there's no easier option than using Divvy. You can do it straight from within their full node wallet that you can download over at diviproject.org, D-I-V-I project.org. You got a question? Connect to their Telegram channel and ask the team directly. In fact, you can even buy Divvy straight from the Divvy team instead of going through those exchanges, which are always, you got to buy, set up an account and go through Know Your Customer and all that. Why do that when you can just go straight through the Divvy team at diviproject.org? So this is from Ian Smith Fitness. Now, he's one of the owners of the Atilis Gym in I think it's Belmar, New Jersey, if I recall correctly. Anyway, this guy is amazing. This is what business owners should be like. If you wanted to actually have freedom, you would do just like this guy does with his business. And look, he's paid a consequence for this. He went to jail for a very short period of time.
But he's out.
For contempt of court. Correct.
And he's still saying no.
And exactly. And he's still opening his business. Every single time that he can get nearby it, he will open it. And they've been very successful at it. And they've I think, been relatively untouched in recent days because I haven't seen a whole lot about them being targeted. But here's a video that he posted 2 days ago. This is posted to his personal Instagram. It's Ian Smith Fitness. Here it is. I don't think he's particularly profane, so hopefully I don't think I'll have to dump this, but I didn't watch it just before the show, so here we go.
What's up, guys? So I had a lot of small business owners reach out to me and ask me the same question. They want to stay open. They don't know how. I'm going to simplify it. 3 easy things you just have to be aware of, okay? The first thing is to expect resistance and expect nonsense. Cops may come, sheriffs may come, health department may come, state, county, whatever. Expect them to come, expect them to give you a hard time. They may even hit you with some fines. They may try to give you a citation. You'll be able to fight that in court. That's a better option than losing your business, okay? Second thing, very, very important. You need clearly marked on the doors and on the windows of your business this sign right here. Screenshot it.
Now,
I assume it says this is private property or something?
Yeah, so you can actually read it if you pause the video and blow it up full screen. And somebody actually was sending an image of this around in one of the various different groups today. But I'm just going to read it for you. It says, warning, no trespass, right at the top in big letters. You can enter this property, ellipsis, 1, only if you have the owner's or legal occupant's written or verbal permission, or 2, you are a U.S. mail carrier or commercial delivery service, or 3, you are responding to a medical or fire emergency, or 4, you possess a valid constitutional Fourth Amendment warrant signed by a judge with proper jurisdiction showing probable cause and the specific places or things to be searched. All other persons are excluded. So this is a private club.
So they have to give members explicit permission to enter?
Correct. If you're a member, you have permission to enter.
Right.
If you're a stranger, well, then you would need to buy a membership in order to come in. And maybe they're not even buying memberships. Maybe they're just giving verbal permission. Oh, you're not a cop? Come on in. Right. So basically, the point of this is to exclude police.
So get restaurants to
and
become
bureaucrats.
membership clubs.
Right. And it doesn't even have to be, I don't think that they have to pay for the membership. Now, maybe there's different rules in different states as far as what constitutes a private club. Maybe a membership of $1 or something, some minimal amount, a penny or whatever is actually required. There was, for instance, at one time...
I was just thinking membership would come free with the purchase of a dine-in meal.
That could be as well. I mean, again, what are the rules in each state? They may differ.
Sure.
I don't know. But I know that there was actually a hookah lounge here in Keene a decade ago, and it was a private club. Now, you could buy a day pass for the private club for, $1 or whatever it was, or you could get like a year-long pass for $5 or $20 or whatever, some small trinket, basically, amount that would get you on the list of members, and then you could smoke indoors. And that got them around that business. It got them around the prohibition that New Hampshire had passed in, I think, 2006 that prohibits smoking inside businesses. Well, if you're
inside all businesses?
Inside public businesses. Yeah, inside all public open businesses that are open to the public, smoking is prohibited in New Hampshire, but not private clubs. So anyway, the point of this is to exclude...
So I assume the cigar bar here in Keene is also...
Must have been a membership thing. Okay. Yeah. I never went into the cigar bar, but actually
New Hampshire is so stupid in the way it likes to pretend, right?
Yeah.
We don't have bars in New Hampshire.
Restaurants.
We have restaurants that also serve alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
It's so absurd, the back thinking and the mental gymnastics that these bureaucrats have forced people to do. Oh,
yeah, it is.
You can't smoke in your business, but if your business isn't a business, it's a membership club that earns a profit, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because you're not smoking in a business,
Right.
You're smoking in a private membership club that earns a profit.
Well, interestingly, the governor's recent mask mandate also exempts private clubs.
Right, because he doesn't want to wear one at the golf club.
Mm-hmm. But strangely, though, I did notice that in some of the mandates that they came down with like the masks and not mask mandates, but the previous ones where they were mandating social distancing and mandating X, Y, and Z in businesses like cleaning and all that stuff, they did say those apply also to private clubs. So private clubs aren't entirely exempt from all these government rules, but they're definitely exempt from some. But the point of the sign is to exclude anyone who's not a government bureaucrat. Or exclude everyone who is a government bureaucrat, to keep those people out. Anyone who's not a government bureaucrat, they're going to be welcomed into the gym because, they want you to join and become a member, right? So we'll take you on a tour, or whatever. You can come in as long as you're not a cop, as long as you're not the health inspector, as long as you're not the governor's agent. So then further in other, so the bottom half of the sign says all other persons are excluded. The right to exclude anyone, even government or law enforcement, is a fundamental constitutional inviolate right set in law. And then they cite a couple of court cases, and it gets a little more difficult to read here. It says a property owner's right to exclude extends to private individuals as well as the government. That's court case United States versus Lyons from 1993. Quote, the intruder who enters clothed in the robes of authority in broad daylight commits no less an invasion of property rights than if he sneaks in the night wearing a burglar's mask. That's the Hedler versus United States case from 1991. Quote,
nice.
The right to exclude is universally held to be a fundamental right or fundamental element of the property right. Another court case, Kaiser something Aetna versus United States in 1979. And Deland versus City of Tigard in 1994. Quote, the right has been long recognized as one of the main rights attaching to property. Rockus versus Illinois, 1978. If you violate this lawful notice, you will be prosecuted, it says. We're coming up here. If you want to join us, this is Free Talk Live.
Mounds and mounds of fur. Our hairballs have hairballs.
Our cat Mama, she's 10 years old. She has dandruff and an oily coat.
I have 2 cats, Dixie and Daisy. Daisy sheds like crazy.
If you love your pets as much as I do, you want to do what's best for them to live long, healthy, happy lives.
DINOVITE.com. I just tried this wonderful Catalicious Dynavite for cats, and my cat has been on it for 2 weeks. She is not scratching anymore. She's not chewing anymore. It is just the best.
I was thrilled when I heard Dynavite for cats was coming out because I'd seen the changes in my dog. To introduce my cat to Dynavite, I took the advice from Dynavite and put their food on top of just a scoop in the bowl, just to get them used to it, because I know if I even switch one little thing, they put their nose up to it. There was not one problem.
Dynavite for life.
You won't believe how happy your cat will be.
DINOVITE.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with AgristHosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to AgristHosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's AgristHosting.com.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
It is Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever you want here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Maybe you know of a business owner who is heroically refusing to obey. If so, they should be praised. They should be, people need to know about them. They need to know about them so they can go support them if they don't already know that they're in their town or whatever. So if you've got somebody locally and you want to tell their story, please feel free to give us a call, 855-450-FREE. It's always encouraging to hear these stories. Sadly, we don't hear them very often.
Not as often as we should.
No.
I mean, given that people's livelihoods are already being destroyed, at what point are people going to stand up if it's not, already?
I don't know. And that's why I really appreciate the work that these guys in Belmar, New Jersey are doing at the Tillis Gym. Ian Smith, one of the founders of the gym, recently posting a 1.5-minute long video, and we're only about halfway through it here, where he's kind of giving advice on how to open up your business during the so-called pandemic. And he says, be expecting that you're going to get bureaucrats come and visit you.
Yeah.
And that they're going to act ridiculous. Expect that.
That's what they do.
Yeah. And
I expect government bureaucrats to be ridiculous at all times.
And I would add a few things to this particular video. I mean, it's short, it's sweet, and I appreciate that. But I would also say have a video camera handy. I mean, almost everybody has a cell phone. But learn how to use the video camera aspect of your cell phone. I mean, some people have never tried it before,
I would expect that almost every business in the United States now is already using extensive surveillance cameras,
yeah,
right?
but surveillance cameras normally don't have audio.
Good
so
point.
That might be good for supplemental footage of whatever goon attack comes in. But you got to have an audio track so you can hear what's actually transpiring on the footage. So grab your video camera. If you've got an actual camcorder, have that charged up and have it under the counter at the front desk. If you don't have that, you can't afford it or whatever, you probably have a cell phone. Your clerk at the desk probably has a cell phone. Take some time to sit down with all of your employees and go over the instructions of if a government bureaucrat comes into the building, pull your camera out, practice it. Go ahead. Find where the camera app is on your phone. Put it a shortcut on your home screen, right? So that way you don't have to futz around trying to find the camera. If your phone has a quick load option, so like mine, if I twist the phone twice in the right way, it'll pop the camera open. So if you've got a real sweet little, this is Motorola's do that, which is pretty nice. But some of them do.
Samsungs do it as well, but I'm sure they have different gestures. I just never bothered to learn them.
So that's what I'm saying. Take the 10 minutes or whatever to familiarize yourself with the video camera feature. You don't want to try to figure that out the first time you need it. So take some time, sit down with the staff, and get them acclimated to doing that. That way they'll know what to do, and that alone is an empowering thing, to be able to pull a video camera up on a government bureaucrat walking through the door. Because these bureaucrats, they walk in acting like they own the place.
Yes, they do.
And if you pull out a video camera and stand up for yourself, it changes the power dynamic there.
Yeah, they expect people to be obedient and compliant, and if you're not those things, they don't know what to do.
They don't. Look at the video, for instance, from the gym, different gym, not the one we're playing the video from here, but on Saturday night, we played video from the gym it's in the Buffalo, New York area, where they were holding a meeting, what they called a protest in the gym, because protests are protected by the government. Remember the whole BLM thing?
A protest workout?
Yeah.
I like it.
Well, I don't know if it was a workout. I think it was just a meeting that they were having there, but they called it a protest. The government goons caught wind that it was going on, and they showed up with sheriffs and a health inspector to try to raid the place, and these people shouted them out of the gym, basically saying, "You don't have a warrant. Get out. Get out." And they started, and normally I don't support chanting, but in this case I did, because it got these bureaucrats to leave. They're like, get out, or things like that. And they literally turned these people around and they left. So make sure your staff knows how to handle this stuff. Do not let these bureaucrats in. And that's the point of the sign that he says. Post this sign. So let me continue with the video here.
Sign right here. Screenshot it. Make one of your own. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. We have them all over. And basically it is a notice to any government official. If they are here on government duty, they are not permitted access to our business without a warrant. Plain and simple, okay? Put your phone number on it and tell them that they cannot come in. If they call and they are present, you can meet them outside and discuss whatever business it is outside of the property.
You don't even have to meet them outside. I mean, there's generally...
tell them to get the hell off your property.
Yeah. I mean, that's about all you should say to these people. The more you talk to these bureaucrats, the closer you are to getting charged with something. So I would recommend not talking to them as much as possible. But yeah, I agree with you, Arya. Instructing them to leave is a valid thing to say to these people. Don't answer their questions. If they ask you a question and you feel like you should respond with a question of your own. Do not answer their questions. Here we go with more.
You do not have to let them in without a warrant. Don't let them in without a warrant. Third step is real simple. Open your business.
And with that, so what you can't see because you're on the radio is the feeling of this video is so when he opens this door, because like the beginning part, the first minute where he's just talking to you, it's just him in like the entryway. And there's the entry desk, and there's these signs, and he tells you all this, and then he says, open your business. And as he opens the door, there's a couple guys coming out, and then as you go, the camera kind of goes in, and it's bright in there, and you're in the gym, and there's a bunch of people in there.
Nice.
And there's just it's this cathartic, relieving sensation to just me watching this, and I'm hundreds of miles
because it's the
away.
first normal thing you've seen in probably 10 months.
Well, I mean, we see it at the local Joaquin. Great, because she's as ballsy as these guys.
Sure, but her business isn't packed.
Well, when our crew's in there, we've had it packed.
Okay.
We had 24 people in that place on a couple of social Sundays, which basically was almost every seat, with the exception of the bar. So it has been packed. But yes, the feeling of, oh my God, there's people in there. There's people working out. They're standing. They're close by to one another. There's no one wearing a mask, and it's so refreshing to watch this video. So I'm going to put a link to this on our social media. You can follow us on Twitter at twitter.freetalklive.com. So we're still on there for now. We're also on Mastodon, which is a decentralized, self-hosted alternative to Twitter. You can go to that over at toot.freetalklive.com. And we're also on Telegram. We got a Telegram channel at telegram.freetalklive.com. Now, with this in mind about his advice and the success that they've had, because again, this was posted 2 days ago. This is fresh. Let's give you an update on what's actually happening behind the scenes and legally with the gym, the Attilis gym in Belmar. So again, we did tell you that there's going to be trouble.
There will
possibly.
There will be trouble anytime you tell a government agent no.
Exactly.
But you have the right to tell them no.
And the more people that do, the less power they have. Law360.com is reporting on the New Jersey gym facing an enforcement order and hefty fine after defying Governor Phil Murphy's COVID-19 shutdown orders. Can't get a civil lawsuit against it paused while the gym's owners battle criminal charges, according to a state judge. Attilis Gym has repeatedly flouted COVID-19 pandemic orders to shut down, and Superior Court Judge Robert T. Lowy hit the gym with a $134,000 judgment back in August.
For what?
Well, let me go back to August here. I actually have that story pulled up too. So this is a $134,000 judgment who the judge slammed the business's, quote, willful and contumacious defiance. I got to look that one up. What is contumacious? Sounds like contemptuous. Contumacious. Stubbornly or willfully disobedient to authority.
Oh, no.
Contumacious.
I think I have a new favorite word.
I like it. Contumacious. All right. So their willful and contumacious defiance during an unprecedented public health crisis. Superior Court Judge Robert T. Lowy granted the sanctions bid by Health Commissioner Judith Percelli against Attilis Gym in what has emerged as the Garden State's most contentious battle over Governor Phil Murphy's coronavirus order for so-called non-essential businesses to shutter or limit operations. The gym contends the state needs to provide a scientific basis for forcing businesses to close, but the court said the owners should have challenged the order by appealing it, not through defiance. 855-450 free. Like freedom. We'll talk about this.
It's okay to question authority and to challenge authority, but you have to do it in the way the authority wants.
Right. More coming up here in moments. This is Free Talk Live.
Attention business owners body slammed by overwhelming debt. If your business is in trouble, hassled by creditors, if you're frustrated, finally fed up with big business bailouts while your business has been left for dead, please listen close. There's a brand new fast-track bankruptcy. Some have even called it the biggest small business bailout in American history. Designed for individuals and their businesses. And look, almost no one knows about this yet. My attorney wasn't even aware of it. The truth is, beating the system has never been easy because it's rigged in a sense against the little guy. But here's the jaw-dropping news nobody's talking about. They've literally just changed the system so that you can beat it, but only if you understand how the new game has to be played. Find out if you qualify at pocketsoflight.com. This government-backed small business repair program is still legal, but may not be renewed after the election. Fight back fairly, fight back ethically at pocketsoflight.com.
Trading involves financial risk and is not suitable for all investors. Past results do not guarantee future performance.
Stock market have you nervous with all the massive fluctuations? With the hope for a COVID vaccine on the rise, shifting political landscape, and the election at an end, it's virtually impossible to guess what will happen next. With Vantage Point, you don't have to. Text MONEY to 411-411 to find out how our technology can forecast market trends up to 3 days in advance with incredible accuracy. Text MONEY to 411-411 to get what you need to stay ahead of market trends and find explosive moves before they happen. Vantage Point's patented technology analyzes huge quantities of global data in seconds. Stop guessing. Start predicting trends 72 hours in advance. Text MONEY to 411-411 and experience Vantage Point for free. Text MONEY to 411-411 so you can protect and grow your capital now. Don't wait. Text MONEY to 411-411.
Go to VantagePointSoftware.com for terms, conditions, and privacy policy.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Koinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Koinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Koinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
Some of our live shows are streamed in HD on Twitch. Please follow and share at twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything you want here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. We're talking about freedom and consequences. In this case, the freedom to run your business the way you want to, and the consequences of violence that the government goons may bring upon you. And
which is what they do.
That's what they do.
That's what the government is. It is violence.
It's a monopoly on violence. And it is something I wish we could just eliminate from our lives. But until that day comes, we have to take steps towards that day. And one of those steps is to act as though you own yourself and act as though you are a free person. Because if more people did that, then there wouldn't be really anything they could do about it. There's only so many jail cells.
I do consider myself to be a free person. The laws that I want to follow, I follow because I think it's generally a good idea anyway.
Like putting on a seatbelt?
I generally don't wear a seatbelt because I drive a convertible, and if I get into a bad enough accident, I'm going to die anyway. I mean, a seatbelt isn't going to save me when the cloth top, is what on the road and the car is upside down. So,
well, that presumes you flip upside down,
but at any rate, not stealing from people, not killing people. I don't do those things not because they're illegal, but because I don't want to do those things. But if the government says something is illegal, like shrooms or whatever, I'm going to go ahead and do those things anyway.
Yeah.
So the law to me is already inconsequential. I'm already free.
Yeah.
The government disagrees.
Right. I like that idea. Like, I live as free as I possibly can, but I do know that there are men with guns out there who may take issue.
They might.
And men with robes in the case of the New Jersey gym, the Attilis gym, that has been heroically disobeying the governor's orders there since the beginning.
In New Jersey at that.
Yeah, and that's
Not
a scary
New
place.
Hampshire,
Right.
New Jersey.
Yeah, New Hampshire isn't as scary of a place to do this stuff.
See, I would expect this kind of stuff in New Hampshire.
But it's not happening here.
I know. Everyone's so obedient.
Yeah. The gym, in this particular case, has been flouting the various different orders over the entire time. And so finally in August, the story here from law360.com, Superior Court Judge Robert T. Loughy granted a $134,000 judgment against the men, Ian Smith and Frank Trombetti, the owners of Attilis Gym, who the judge said he doesn't agree with their argument that the government needs to provide a scientific basis for forcing business to close. Even I don't care what their scientific basis is. I'll do what I want.
I would rather them provide the legal justification for forcing a business to close, and I don't think they can provide that.
Well, their legal justification is they have emergency order statutes that give the governor the ability to do anything he wants. So
the unconstitutional executive order
until
statutes.
It's ruled unconstitutional by the men in robes, it's legal. So technically, it's
that's
legal.
why it's so broken. It's so obviously unconstitutional. It shouldn't have to be challenged.
I
right?
know, right? That's the system, though. So the judge chastised them, saying that they should have challenged the order by appealing it, not through defiance. Quote,
how do you appeal an executive order? There's no mechanism in place to do that.
There isn't. You're absolutely right. Quote, while defendant has decried a lack of due process during the court's all too frequent involvement in this matter, defendant has failed until most recently to avail itself of the processes available to it as of right, unquote, said the decision from Judge Loughy.
Oh, I get it. The judge is upset that he didn't give the governor's order due process.
That the gym didn't, you mean?
Yeah.
Right. Citing New Jersey court rules for challenging agency decisions in the appellate division. Quote, and defendant's legal arguments do not and cannot obscure its ongoing violation of this court's orders, he said. The judgment breaks down to $123,981 in sanctions and $10,481 in counsel fees for the state. So they're demanding that the Belmar Gym pay for the state's attorneys in this case. If the Belmar-based facility continues its defiance, it will have to pay $15,497.76 for each day it remains open, according to the decision. Well, it doesn't look like they're closed.
It doesn't.
So it's been since this was August 19th that this story was written. So that's
a lot of fines.
2 whole months since that time.
I mean, eventually they're going to get hit with contempt of court over those fines.
Well, they already got hit with contempt of court.
I mean, they're going to get hit again.
Yeah, I suspect you're right about that. The court noted that Smith and Trombetti have been vocal about their insistence on remaining open, as evidenced by their public statements and social media posts. One of Smith's Instagram videos depicted the duo knocking down a barrier that had been placed around the gym by the state to block entrance, which was heroic. Quote, as established by plaintiff, as memorialized and celebrated by defendant's owners on social media posts referenced in plaintiff's application, and as tacitly acknowledged by defendant in its opposition, defendant continues to facilitate and host such prohibited activity in a willful and contumacious manner, the decision said.
Good for the defendant.
The owners will be on the hook for the cost the state will incur to construct a new barrier, according to the decision. Murphy has gradually lifted the coronavirus restrictions he implemented in March as part of state's phased recovery plan, but has not provided a date when gyms can reopen.
Do you want a killdozer? Because this is the kind of crap that gets you a killdozer.
It really is.
I was just thinking, they're probably going to need some sort of bulldozer to actually break down this new barricade.
Well, they must have broken it down because it's November and they're open.
Yeah.
The battle began in federal court with Attilis' May lawsuit alleging the governor's shutdown of non-essential businesses ran afoul of civil rights laws, as well as the due process and equal protection clauses of the 5th and 14th Amendments to the U.S. Constitution. In June, the gym's claims moved to state court, where Murphy and health officials already had an action pending over their refusal to close. The men remained open, chronicling their defense or their defiance on Instagram and the media, which resulted in the contempt order on July 24th. The pair responded that weekend by knocking the barricade off of their gym, leading to their July 27th arrest on charges of contempt, obstruction, and violation of the New Jersey Disaster Control Act. The court had a telephone hearing Friday on the state's $15,000 a day sanctions bid. A state deputy attorney general argued the owners started a GoFundMe account to support their contempt, while an attorney for the gym said the business's livelihood was at stake. Smith and Trombetti have also a pending motion to stay the state's contempt motion until they resolve the 14 criminal complaints that they're facing out of Belmar Municipal Court. In an emailed statement, the Attorney General said, quote, "This decision recognizes that gym owners, like everyone else, must do their part and follow the law. As we've said before, we're in the middle of a global pandemic. Yet these
Are we, though?
Well, they keep saying so.
I mean, they keep saying it, but I mean, if you go outside and you look around, other than the fact that, people appear to be afraid, there's no indication of a pandemic at all. I'm not saying it doesn't exist.
I heard from a business owner today that he's got COVID.
Sure.
And I asked him, how are you feeling? He said he's fine.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. Yeah. I mean, it's such a trivial...
And he's like in his 60s.
He is.
Yeah.
It's such a trivial, nonsensical thing. I mean, people aren't getting sick. They're not dying in the streets. This is not the Black Plague here.
Nope.
I don't know why people are treating it like it is. I mean, the death rate is like 1.1% or something like that in the United States. And I mean, sure, that's 0.1% of the population that died, and that sucks. But it's not worth shutting down people's lives over. Life is for the living, not the ones who are dead.
I agree. People
Carry on.
Are believing what they're being told, and they're not using their own senses. They're not using their own experience. They're rejecting their own experience, and they're only looking at what the media and the government is telling them.
Yeah, got to turn off that TV, dudes. That's what's driving all of this fear. It's the television.
So
it tells you what to think and how to feel, and it's very, very good at it.
The Attorney General says, as we've said before, we're in the middle of a global pandemic, yet these defendants have defied multiple court orders designed to protect the public. We hope that today's order puts an end to this dispute.
I don't think it did, though.
Apparently not. Gym attorney John McCann told Law 360 that gyms in neighboring states are allowed to open, and the judge's decision is very limited in scope. He said in an email, quote, "Clearly the state has no evidence this gym is a public health danger. Otherwise, they would have publicly promoted the evidence in this proceeding to support their case. My clients have stated publicly if the state can demonstrate Attila's gym is unsafe, or as compared to other businesses, they would not allow people to visit their gym." He said, so far, 19,000 visitors agree with their views. Some ultimately, at some point, we will get to the science. Standing up for constitutional rights is not easy in a climate of fear. Smith and Trombetti's bravery is something this country is lacking right now, he said. And he's absolutely right about that. So now we take it to today. So this was released actually today, just before the show started. So this is about the most recent update. Also from law360.com, it says here that the judge, again, references the $134,000 judgment in August. In a November 18th order publicly released today, the judge denied the gym's request for a stay in the case, the civil case that is, for the $134,000, while the criminal matters are resolved in Belmar Municipal Court. The judge did not explain the reasons for the denial in the brief order, and the New Jersey Office of the Attorney General and counsel for the gym didn't respond to requests for comments. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE-LIKE-FREEDOM. That's 855-450-3733. You can join us. And we got a whole hour to go here. Hour 3 is on the way. You can take control. Heroic businesses, where are they? It's Free Talk Live.
He was a runaway into rescue, great disposition. About 9 years ago, he was scratching a lot, and he started losing some hair. My vet, she said, oh, he must be allergic to the chicken. Another vet said, it's the grain. Third vet, she says it's the weather, something in the air. And then somebody said, DINOVITE.com. I had been listening to these Dynavite ads, hearing about different stories of different people, and it just clicked. I got my first 90-day supply, and it took a grand total of 2 weeks. And the dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out.
Dynavite is nutrition.
And Maxwell loves it. Now he's close to 10, and the Dynavite is a big part of Maxwell's diet.
Dynavite for life. You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
And he's a spectacular dog.
DINOVITE.com.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Former National Security Advisor pardoned. I'm Jack Callahan, Fox News. President Trump issuing a full pardon to General Michael Flynn Wednesday, ending what the president had called a purely political prosecution.
Flynn, the president's first national security advisor, pleaded guilty in late 2017 to lying to the FBI about meeting with Russia's ambassador to the U.S., but later disavowed his plea and tried to get the case thrown out. In the spring, the Justice Department abandoned the case, which until the presidential pardon was still tied up in legal limbo.
Fox's John Decker in a statement, the Justice Department saying it would have preferred Judge Emmett Sullivan to dismiss the case, but called the president's pardon appropriate. Republican state lawmakers in Pennsylvania held a hearing today on the president's charges the vote counting was rigged. His attorney, Rudy Giuliani, critical of the widespread use of mail-in ballots.
This was a terrible mistake, and it allowed the leadership of a party that had become pretty expert at voter fraud to really go wild.
President Trump spoke to the panel by phone and said he won the election by a lot. Pennsylvania state officials say there's no evidence of widespread fraud. President-elect Biden in a Thanksgiving address asking Americans to celebrate the holiday safely, masked and socially distant. He also called for unity, saying it's time to put the election behind us.
In America, we have full and fair and free elections, and then we honor the results. The people of this nation and the laws of the land won't stand for anything else.
But New York Congressman Lee Zeldin tweeting telling Trump supporters to sit down and shut up only divides us further. America is listening to Fox News.
Life can be stressful, even under normal circumstances. 2020 has challenged even the most difficult times of life. These days, you need stress relief that goes beyond quick fixes. That's Headspace. Headspace is your daily dose of mindfulness in the form of guided meditations in an easy-to-use app. Headspace is one of the only meditation apps advancing the field of mindfulness and meditation through clinically validated research. So, however today's news hits you, Headspace really can help you feel better. Headspace's approach to mindfulness can reduce stress, improve sleep, boost focus, and increase your overall sense of well-being. Backed by 25 published studies on its benefits, Headspace has 600,000 five-star reviews and over 60 million downloads. You deserve to feel happier, and Headspace is meditation made simple. Go to headspace.com/Fox. That's headspace.com/Fox for a free 1-month trial with access to Headspace's full library of meditations for every situation. This is the best deal offered right now. Head to headspace.com/Fox today.
Many Americans ignoring the advice against traveling for the holiday.
There are major concerns among public health officials who believe millions of Americans traveling in the midst of a pandemic could be disastrous. Airlines are already seeing large crowds, the largest crowds they've seen since the beginning of the pandemic. Since Friday, the TSA has screened more than 4 million passengers. Overall, airlines are expected to see about a 50% decrease in traffic this year compared to last year. Fewer people, but still alarming for public health officials as they plead with Americans to follow CDC guidelines to stay home. Holiday travelers say they are ready to begin living their lives once again.
Fox's Charles Watson. California has reported a record number of coronavirus cases, more than 18,000 infections reported Wednesday. The U.S. Border Patrol is closing for renovation a controversial Texas detention facility where immigrants were kept inside chain link fences. The agency says
the Surgeon General warns teens the cinnamon challenge is not for pussies. Taylor Swift is now dating the Watertown boat, and a middle-aged funeral director buys a flashy red hearse. We pity your pathetic dependence on this for your weekly news, but here we go anyway. This is the Onion Week in Review. A study released this week by the National Institutes of Health confirmed that for the 25th straight year, wolf attacks remain the leading cause of death in the United States. The Human Health Agency's findings confirmed that being viciously killed by a ravenous wolf claimed the lives of over 800,000 Americans last year alone, with researchers adding that one person in the United States dies every 40 seconds from a violent wolf attack.
The mortality rate associated with wolf attacks vastly outstrips the death tolls of cancer, stroke, and chronic respiratory disease. People should know that anyone... Oh, Jesus,
no. This is the Onion News Network.
Frustrated with his increased workload and a litany of interpersonal problems, CLG software project manager William Garston brought a list of grievances Thursday to his supervisor Todd Watkins, an utterly powerless office functionary with no actual ability to resolve any problems.
Oh, no. I'm really glad that you're bringing this to me. This is great.
The 15-minute interaction, which was taken seriously by both parties, involved Garston laying out a series of work-related issues he's had recently, absolutely none of which Watkins has even the slightest authority to address.
Again, I'm sorry to be bothering you with all this stuff, Todd. I've reached a point where I was not under the... This is important. We're gonna sort all this out.
Sources added that throughout the conversation, Watkins continually nodded his head and repeatedly assured Garston that his problems would be considered a top priority, despite the fact that he lacked the necessary clout to foster any change whatsoever within the company.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. We're kicking off the third hour of the program. In the studio tonight, you've got Ian.
And Arya.
Our toll-free number for you is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. As we continue here, we're actually going to get into your phone calls and thoughts. You can, of course, take control of the airwaves. That is the point here on Free Talk Live. And coming up, we've been talking over the last hour or so about some heroic business owners, specifically the guys that own the Attilis Gym in Belmar, New Jersey. They got to be the most noteworthy, I think, of all of the business owners I've heard about. Early on, there was that lady that had like a salon in Dallas who stayed open, and she raised like $500,000 in donations from people from across the country.
There was also the old barber, I think, in Michigan.
Yeah, North Michigan.
And he had an armed militia protecting him at one point.
That was a pretty awesome story. He was pretty ballsy, no doubt about it. But the biggest conflict had to be between these gym owners in New Jersey, because, I mean, if you're in New Jersey, you literally are. I mean, governments are criminal gangs. New Jersey's got to be one of the most criminal. I mean, it's...
Without a doubt.
Yeah, it's the garbage state. The people that actually live in New Jersey call it the garbage state. I mean, these people...
Why do they choose to live there then?
I don't understand.
You're a human being. You have the capacity to migrate.
Humans have the tendency, even though they have the capacity to migrate, they have the tendency to stay put.
They do.
They stay where they are born, the supermajority of them.
And I don't understand why.
I don't either. I mean, I did stay where I was born for the first 26 years of my life.
Sure, but
then I found somewhere else that I could go that was better.
Was it not always within your plan to leave your hometown, or did it just sort of happen incidentally? Because I always, I have different, history.
Yeah,
there, but
I never had a
plan
to leave.
Okay.
I didn't have any disdain for where I was living. I mean, I didn't have a bad childhood or anything like that. But as soon as I found the opportunity to go somewhere else that was more free, it's like, well, that's a no-brainer.
Okay.
I got to go do that. So I moved to New Hampshire, and I've been here for 14 years. And that's not to say that I wouldn't move again if there really seemed like there was a more prospective freedom option on the table. I have yet to see it. I still think New Hampshire is far and away the best option out there. So, but unfortunately, New Hampshire is not a shining star in this whole COVID crackdown insanity. It's mid-pack at best as far as the various states and their levels of crackdown. It's not towards the best end of them, and it's not all the way towards the worst end of them. It's like at number 26 last time I looked at the charts.
I guess given that New Hampshire is kind of unique for being, the culture of New Hampshire surrounded by these ultra-liberal controlling states like Massachusetts and Vermont, and to some extent Maine, it is surprising that New Hampshire has been as good as it is compared to what its neighbors are doing, and the immense pressure that must be being put on it from Vermont and Massachusetts and Rhode Island and Connecticut and all of these other horrible places.
Yeah, I mean, by comparison, New Hampshire looks a lot more free when you look at its immediate neighbors. There's no doubt about that. But this year, and it has ranked as quite free when you look at economic freedom rankings and personal freedoms and the overall freedom rankings. New Hampshire is either usually number 1 or number 2. Florida is either number 1 or number 2. So it's like New Hampshire and Florida are the top 2. And it depends on if you look at the Freedom of the 50 States study or the Fraser Institute Freedom of North America. Check either of those and you'll see New Hampshire does very well. But those are numbers from 2018 and 2016. We haven't seen the numbers from 2020 yet. It's going to be 2 more years before we finally get to look at that. And I think New Hampshire's going to take a dive.
Sununu has almost single-handedly destroyed the live free or die motto in New Hampshire.
Yep. And the people of New Hampshire have been decidedly disappointing in their responses, because if people ignored the Sununu, the little tyrant, then he wouldn't be able to do anything. Let's go to your phone calls and thoughts, and we'll talk about a New Hampshire business that is facing a fine now from the Attorney General's office.
Fine.
Yes, we'll tell you more about that coming up here. But first, we go to Steve. He's calling from Connecticut. Steve, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, Ian. Hey, Aria. How are you? This is Steve, your political refugee from Connecticut. How are you?
Hey, Steve. What's on your mind tonight?
Listening in and hearing all about the tyranny versus liberty. Just my report from Connecticut. We call him King Ned. Mm-hmm. I know that you have Lord Sununu up there, and I'll see you on Sunday at Lord Sununu.
Yes, the Sununu protests here are continuing. There's going to be one, as you mentioned, Sunday afternoon. So there was one this past Sunday. It had almost, I think, approximately 100 people showed up for it, which was pretty awesome for a first protest. So it sounds like we're going to get some new faces, including yours, Steve, this weekend. So what did you want to share tonight?
Well, King Ned has imposed a $10,000 U.S. dollar fine on any business that does not comply with the what is the word, protocol in Connecticut.
And that's the mask mandates and the social distancing and all of that nonsense.
Yes, and I'm part of the Connecticut Liberty Rally group, and last Friday we organized a protest against a bar that was shut down, and we had about 35 people out there. And the owner just...
You mean it was a protest in favor of the bar, not against the bar?
In favor of the bar, to support the bar, against King Ned.
Was the bar owner present?
I'm sorry?
Was the bar owner present?
He was, and the news media was there. And when we do these protests, we notify the news media, we notify the police, and saying that we're going to be there. And the owner of the bar said, "Well, I don't really want to, and Connecticut is the land of steady habits. And like you were saying, like you can move anywhere you want. I have 1 foot in New Hampshire, 1 foot is still in Connecticut. But
why do you inform the police?
Why do we inform the police? And I was saying this in the chat today,
I don't ever read the chat.
Our listeners also aren't in the chat. So what were you saying?
All right. So we call the police basically to bring attention that we're going to be protesting. I mean, it's not really a protest until we have 4 news media outlets, 5 police cars, and Mike, the frontline drummer, who's our fife and drum guy, and we start these protests. We're just out there, making people aware of these shutdowns by our governor.
Okay, but why do you want the police near you? Is the part I'm not getting.
Oh, it's basically just for show, I think. You know, we did a protest at Trader Joe's, and the police actually, we didn't notify the police, but they found out about it through a Facebook post, and they had 4 police cars plus a SWAT truck there, and there were like 8 people there to protest Trader Joe's. It's crazy. It's Connecticut. It's crazy. It's like New Jersey.
Do you guys have any heroic business owners that are actually standing up against this stuff?
We do now, although King Ned just shut down a bar in Manchester, Connecticut called the Hungry Tiger. It's a live music place, and the restrictions are at 9:30 is last call at 9:30. By 10 o'clock, everybody has to be out because the COVID comes out at 10 o'clock.
Have they provided any reason for this whatsoever?
No, they just want a curfew.
It's just King Ned. It's just King Ned. He says this is how it's going to be, and this is how it's going to be. So the bar owners.
It's just the next steps. More crackdowns.
So these curfews, do the businesses have to close, or are you not allowed to be out?
No, the businesses have to. All the patrons have to be out by 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if there was a curfew in place, could you like hang out at the park if you wanted to after that time? I'm trying to find out to what extent this curfew exists. I mean, is it just the businesses have to close by then?
Well, it's the bars and restaurants have to have the last service at 9:30, and all the patrons have to be out by 10 o'clock. That is the edict from King Ned.
I get it then. It's just more fascism. It's just more regulations to turn businesses into police.
There are different states have different levels of curfew. So some states are saying you can't be out after night unless you're on an excuse or whatever, that you got your hall pass and you're going to work.
Let them try that crap with me, man.
Or you're going to you're going to get something from like CVS or something. So there are exemptions from these curfews. So I don't know what the details are there in Connecticut. All right, Steve, what else do we need to know?
Well, so the Hungry Tiger, which is the bar that was shut down, we are doing the Connecticut Liberty Rally on Saturday at noon at the Capitol to check this out, because Saturday is Small Business Saturday, right? for Black Friday. So small businesses are being shut down in Connecticut, and we are doing the CT Liberty Rally at the Capitol at noon.
Steve, let us know how it goes, man. I appreciate the heads up on that. I appreciate the effort that you guys are putting in down there. There's more coming up. Free Talk Live.
News from news.bitcoin.com. Early Bitcoin wallets cashing in. Is Satoshi back? Investment expert Dr. Doom calls Bitcoin a store of value. Bitcoin Cash forks. Everything's fine. Bitcoin price surges above $18,000 US. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com. Free Bitcoin Cash when you download their wallet at bitcoin.com.
Maxwell, he was scratching and losing some hair. My vet, she says, he must be allergic to chicken. Another vet said, eat the grain. Third vet said, it's the weather. Then somebody said,
DINOVITE.com.
It took 2 weeks, and the dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out. The Dinovite is a big part of Maxwell's diet.
You get some Dinovite, how happy your dog will be.
DINOVITE.com.
Freedom! Freedom is the call of the untamed Scotsman and all others that want to feel the wind under their kilts.
At Free Talk Live, we love the breezy, swinging feeling that only a kilt from Sport Kilt can give.
We teamed up with Sport Kilt to let you experience their form of freedom at a discount. Go to kilts.freetalklive.com and see a picture of Richie and me in our kilts.
And then head over to sportkilt.com. Get some stylish freedom for yourself and use code FTL for a 10% discount. Sportkilt.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions, or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Excuse me, is this where I get a license to start a new business?
I wouldn't be hasty. You have to get a license to go out of business, too, you know.
Oh, well, look, I've invented this little anti-gravity machine, see?
Oh, is that why you're walking 2 inches above the floor?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable. It saves on shoe leather.
Yeah, well, you have to fill out these forms and report to the Human Services Department of Manpower Orientation and register with the Fair Employment Practice Commission, the Wage and Hour Division of the Employment Standards Administration, the State Sales and Income Tax Division, the Internal Revenue Service, and the Social Security Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and, of course, OSHA.
OSHA? I thought that was a little town in Wisconsin.
You'll find out. Say, floating around like that could be dangerous. Have you checked with the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
Well, not yet.
Come to think of it, you actually are flying, aren't you? Look, you need to go over to the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation...
It's very hard to get anything done these days if you're in business, but free enterprise built this country. Think what could happen if we don't keep it free. A public service of this station and the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise, Bellevue, Washington.
Besides, we just can't have people floating about unregulated, you know.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. Ian and Aria in the studio. You are invited to join us. The toll-free number is 855-450, free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Join our Matrix chat server as well. Over at chat.lrn.fm is where you'll find step-by-step instructions on how to get on our chat server. It's free, and it's self-hosted, which means that there's no big tech corporation that is holding an axe over your head. You can just go and have more freedom to chat over at chat.lrn.fm. And also, if you want more freedom to hang out and party in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire at a campground in New Hampshire in the summertime of 2021, start preparing now for Fork Fest 2021. You can mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th. We will be there.
Oh, yeah.
Presuming that there's not, some sort of government armed guards standing out front trying to prevent us from getting in, which there wasn't this year, and I think they're going to leave us alone.
I don't think Crosby would allow it.
Yeah, and I don't think we would allow it either. They didn't mess with us this year, and I don't think they're going to touch us next year. So go to forkfest.party. It's probably going to be the only thing you're going to get to do if this same crap continues into 2021. At least presuming you're free to actually leave the state government area that you're living in.
Which may not be the case.
They've already got checkpoints put up in New York City, apparently, right now. So, presuming you can get here, we're going to be having Fork Fest, with or without you. It's June 28th through July 4th. It's a decentralized libertarian camping festival. And what does that mean? It means that there's no one in charge. Obviously somebody runs the campground, but as far as the festival is concerned, no one is in charge. There's no official schedule or anything like that. It's just completely up to you to make your own experience. And if you want somebody else to experience something you want them to, then you create that thing. So whether it's a party tent or a band that you want to perform in or karaoke that you want to host, please come on by and do it at Fork Fest.
Are you going to host a karaoke this year?
I did not host karaoke last year, but...
no one did karaoke last year.
No one did. You're right about that. That's an interesting question. Maybe someone will do karaoke.
Maybe.
I don't know. I happen to know there's somebody that's got a bunch of karaoke tracks around here, though, so it's possible.
That was what I was thinking.
It's a possibility. So we go to your calls and thoughts. Matt is in California. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Matt. Matt?
Howdy. Hi, Ian.
Hey, what's on your mind?
It's been a long time.
Hey, what's up?
Well, you remember my call 4 years ago, vaguely. I'm the guy that called you about the Seagoville, the ice cream scandal.
Oh, right. Okay, so for listeners who weren't around 4 years ago, you were in a federal prison, and you're going to have to recap the ice cream scandal for our listeners, if since you brought it up.
Right. Well, what the BOP.
That's the Bureau of Prisons.
The Bureau of Prisons people were doing was taking. They're basically stealing money and spending it on themselves instead of spending it on our food. So we were eating worse food because they were eating like, I don't know, Black Angus or, Olive Garden or whatever. And
so the guards of the prison were eating like kings. And the rules are generally, in most jails that I'm aware of, that the guards are supposed to eat the same food as the inmates, right?
Really?
Right. Yeah. And then I had sent you all those documents that basically proved that they were stealing. And then I called the show, and on the day after, it was the day after, or maybe a couple of days after, they have this thing where what they do is they take the skim off the commissary, and it's sort of a tax return. It's not they're not really giving you anything. They're just giving everybody the same thing. It's bags of, jail goodies, chips and candy and what have you. This is the part, because I never got a chance to talk to you after this. They blocked my ability to call the show after this. The warden was out there dressed in like a little Santa suit, and they were passing out the Christmas bags, and I was in line, and a lieutenant and 5 other cops rushed me and took me to the hole. I spent about, a couple of months in the hole.
Jeez.
And then they let me out for a week, and then they threw me back in the hole. And what they said was there were threats to there were threats against me. They never specified them, but they just said there were threats against
you. Yourself were never threatened by anyone. There was no one in the prison.
Other inmate.
Yeah.
No other.
So
inmate.
they just so happened to throw you in the hole after you just so happened to call this radio show and out them for stealing your lunch, basically the prisoner's lunch money.
Right. And then they just kept doing it. And they blocked the number. Any other prisoner in that prison, right, because they give other prisoners the number to the show, could call your show.
Mm-hmm.
But no sane person would do this after what happened to me.
Right, because you'll go to the hole. Call Free Talk Live, go to the hole. Now, describe for our listeners what the hole is like.
Well, it's the hole for me, they were so pissed off after I called your show that they threw me in a room. It's basically, a 6x10 room with a toilet and a sink in it. And food comes through the slot, trays go back out.
Do you even get a book?
You don't bring your books.
Okay.
And books come in through the mail.
Okay.
But what they did do to me, though, that was special, was they threw it. If you'll remember, I don't know, for your listeners, this was a December call. They threw me in a cell that had no window when it was 28 degrees outside for a month.
Wow. So you're alone in a cell. There's you can read a book, so it's not the worst experience, but you have no social contact with the exception of the guard that comes to deliver your meal, basically. Did they give you an hour out around the day room or outside or anything like that?
Well, I guess every other day I could have gone outside for an hour, but I was already outside for an hour with my window broken.
Oh, the window was
that's
broken.
What you meant by having no window. Okay.
I thought you meant there was
no... I had no window at all.
Oh, my God.
And it was 28 degrees outside. They picked a special cell for me for calling you guys.
Wow. I mean, on its own, being in the torture or being in the hole is torture, right? Because
it's defined as torture by the Geneva Convention.
Correct. And then adding to it freezing cold weather rolling through there constantly, 24 hours a day, that is crazy.
How long have you been out?
Yeah, I've been out about a year.
I'm glad you're out.
I got a job. I got an apartment. I met the most wonderful woman I've ever been with.
Oh.
I'm glad to hear things are improving and that you never have to, face those sorts of nightmares again. Although, having experience with such things, those nightmares are going to be with you forever. You're never going to forget that.
Well, at least you got a lady that you can, lay down with now and wake up with, so that's much better. It's a big improvement.
And you're not sleeping in 28-degree weather with a broken window.
Matt, hey, feel free to call in anytime with any updates or any crazy prison stories, because I know you got them. If you spend time in there, you got some. Thanks for the call, man. I definitely appreciate it. Glad you made it out of there. Wow. So call Free Talk Live from the wrong prison and they catch wind of it, you get in trouble. More coming up.
Taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by DJ Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at MyMagicMud.com. FTL20, MyMagicMud.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, you dial in toll free here. The number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. With you tonight, Ian.
And Aria.
We're going to go to more of your calls and thoughts. Also, want to make sure that you can go to our website where you can download years worth of archives for free. They go back to all the way to 2006. So dig in over there at freetalklive.com. And again, that's freetalklive.com. Coming up, Aria, you're going to tell us about a New Hampshire business that has been targeted with a fine. They've recently been handing out fines to businesses after many months of no fines whatsoever, and now all of a sudden...
we knew this was going to happen.
Yeah. Maybe Sununu was waiting till after he got reelected, telling his attorney general to hold off till it was safe.
People kept saying, oh, don't worry, no one's actually been fined yet. Or don't worry, no one's actually been arrested for not wearing a mask yet. But it has happened. People have now been arrested and tackled in the streets.
In New Hampshire?
Not in New Hampshire.
Okay.
But Vin Armani posted a video of someone being attacked by police and brought down all for not wearing a mask.
I saw that video. I don't know. So the video you're talking about was where there was like a long-haired hippie-looking guy that got tackled.
Uh-huh.
Somebody pointed out no one was wearing masks in that video, so it was probably old. It was probably from like Portland or something earlier this year.
Good
There were
points.
some questions about that particular video. That's why I ended up not actually using it for on air. So, but that's likely to happen at some point.
I mean, they killed Eric Gardner for selling cigarettes. They will kill people to enforce these mask mandates.
Absolutely. They're going to kill you to keep you safe.
That they haven't killed anyone yet shows a level of restraint I have not come to expect from the state.
We go on. Let's talk to David. He's in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, courtroom threats, but sleeping in 28 degrees, I do that every night.
That's hardcore, man.
28 degrees Celsius?
Yeah, man, on the beach, like in Bahamas.
That sounds pretty sweet.
Nice.
What were you calling about, David?
Courtroom threats, but your last caller, what they did to you, that's a federal retaliation is a federal crime as well as a tort.
Mm. Well, it wasn't retaliation. They put him in the hole because there were threats against him.
He'd have to prove there were no threats against him.
I hear your sarcasm, and I'm with you.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that they could find the facts if anybody cared enough in our government. Oh, that's right, they don't. That's why it says in our our Constitution, the only three words you can read if you look at a picture of the original is "We the people."
I didn't sign it. It's not my Constitution.
Well, you know what? If we all time traveled, including you, back to when they were writing the Declaration of Independence, or right after the revolution had been won, I bet you would have felt very, 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 very free compared to today.
I mean, and in those circumstances, I probably would have signed it, but that would be because the ideas of libertarianism hadn't evolved to the point where they're at now.
Okay, so back to retaliation. What they did is retaliation, and it's a federal crime and a tort, and it should be pursued. I mean, I can't tell him what to do.
I suspect he just wants to get back to his life, or get to his life, and not worry about fighting these goons constantly. I mean, how can you prove it though? Correlation is not causation. Just because he made a phone call to Free Talk Live.
I'll tell you how. When you make a complaint, some complaints actually have to be investigated, and when they're investigated, people have to lie. And when they start lying, it's noticeable that their stories don't line up, and then they incriminate themselves further, and you find out even more cool stuff. So
this is why you don't talk to police.
What started that whole thing about the ice cream money being stolen, or the money being stolen, the commissary money being stolen to buy ice cream? Yep. You know what? Actually, and this guy actually deserves a little bit of a pat on the back. the state auditor in New Mexico, Brian Colon, he announced today that exact same thing is being done in the Bernalillo County MDC, the jail in Bernalillo County. Families were putting money on deposit at the commissary for their inmate family members, and the guards at the jail were stealing it, $60,000 worth.
Yep.
So, the state auditor here, the state auditor here just announced that today that he had discovered that.
Wow.
Which reminds me, I have some money on deposit still in the county jail in one of the counties here, and I just called one of the county commissioners tonight and began an inquiry about that money. So we'll see.
Wait, so that means that you had money in a commissary account while you were in jail, and they never gave it back to you?
Yes, technically yes, because if you remember, the state of New Mexico being government, they screwed up their mailings, and they mailed a summons to me at an address where I don't live, and it was their fault, not mine.
Right, but they blamed you.
And so I got arrested on a warrant, and when they arrested me, they took all my money, right?
Right, and they put it in commissary.
And then when they kicked me out of the jail, like 3 days later, for no fault of my own, they didn't give me my money back.
Do you have a
receipt?
receipt?
You gotta come back.
Did they give you a receipt for the money?
That's the other thing. They wouldn't even give me a receipt
then
for it.
Then how are you going to prove your case?
Oh, it'll be fun. It'll be fun trying.
Let us know how it goes, David. Thank you for the call tonight. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. So they're supposed to give you a receipt when you get booked into a jail. If you've got $300 in your wallet, there's, when they inventory everything that's on your person, your wallet, your keys, whatever was in the wallet, they're supposed to, $300. Write it down. And then when you get out of jail, you're supposed to get they won't give you the cash, at least not around here. They give you like a prepaid debit card and with the $300 on it, basically.
Why won't they give you the cash back?
Because they do it the way they want to do it, not the way that it should work.
But they didn't confiscate a prepaid debit card. They confiscated $300 in cash.
That's how it goes. And maybe maybe it's different in different states. Let's talk to James in Arizona. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, James. So if they go through the inventory and they don't write down how much money you have, make them write it down. Otherwise, they'll steal it from you. Go ahead, James.
Oh, may I?
Huh? You drunk already?
Why do you ever call Dave from Area 51 a lunatic, as he obviously is? That's why he doesn't.
He has never threatened any of our co-hosts.
Neither have I.
All right, what were you calling about?
Neither have I.
Happy Thanksgiving, James.
What were you calling about?
You loser and liar. May I ask you why you're not celebrating Thanksgiving tomorrow with your families? Is it because drag queen James and Ian Seaman, none of your family respect you?
Actually, no. James, you'd be quite surprised to find out that my grandmother actually reached out to me on Facebook and said that she was sorry that I'm not going to be out there tomorrow.
I am surprised.
I know. I was surprised too, man.
Are you enjoying letting it hang out while wearing a kilt all around Keene, New Hampshire, expressing your freedom?
That's Mark who wears kilts.
Of course not.
And
Just
Richie.
Like the reason why you're advertising Dorkfest a year before it's happening is because I noticed you don't actually have any advertisers anymore that pay. Oh, that's a good one. Again, you don't call Dave a lunatic and a loser because he is, but he's definitely a sycophant for Free Talk Live. You're bread and butter, like the loser Matt. And don't hear you.
Everyone except you is a loser, right, James?
No, you
James,
are
you've been calling this show obsessively for like a decade.
Drag Queen James, you should take this to heart, because the reason why I, having been called a liar on the public airwaves by a pencil neck geek you're standing next to, or sitting next to, excuse me, has not had his head smashed into asphalt, is not because I fear men with guns, but because I fear a God that will definitely dispose of you properly when you finally stop breathing. Because you are a complete fucking loser.
Oh, James. You had to go and ruin Thanksgiving.
He so rarely does that.
Yeah, he's usually better. And it was not a bad call. I mean, it was bad.
I'm disappointed. I wanted to tell him directly, James, I think you're a liar.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's definitely lied. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Well, that's too bad. It was
seems to be a trigger phrase for him.
It was more than, it was more of a tolerable call. Like, we let him go for a while, and he did call me Ian Seaman, which maybe he's used that in the past, but it seemed new.
I hadn't heard that one before.
Yeah, it seemed new to me.
He usually dead names you.
Does he?
Yeah.
Okay. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Well, happy Thanksgiving there, James. I hope that you stay home and don't drive while you're drunk.
Or I hope you spend time with your family, but your father's disappointed in you, so that's probably not in the cards.
All right. We're going to be having a good time on Thanksgiving. I can't tell you what we're going to do, but we'll tell you afterwards tomorrow. We got more coming up. Plenty of time for you if you join us.
Attention business owners body slammed by overwhelming debt. If your business is in trouble, hassled by creditors, if you're frustrated, finally fed up with big business bailouts while your business has been left for dead, please listen close. There's a brand new fast-track bankruptcy. Some have even called it the biggest small business bailout in American history. Designed for individuals and their businesses. And look, almost no one knows about this yet. My attorney wasn't even aware of it. The truth is, beating the system has never been easy because it's rigged in a sense against the little guy. But here's the jaw-dropping news nobody's talking about. They've literally just changed the system so that you can beat it, but only if you understand how the new game has to be played. Find out if you qualify at pocketsoflight.com. This government-backed small business repair program is still legal, but may not be renewed after the election. Fight back fairly, fight back ethically at pocketsoflight.com.
Trading involves financial risk and is not suitable for all investors. Past results do not guarantee future performance.
Stock market have you nervous with all the massive fluctuations? With the hope for a COVID vaccine on the rise, shifting political landscape, and the election at an end, it's virtually impossible to guess what will happen next. With Vantage Point, you don't have to. Text MONEY to 411-411 to find out how our technology can forecast market trends up to 3 days in advance with incredible accuracy. Text MONEY to 411-411 to get what you need to stay ahead of market trends and find explosive moves before they happen. Vantage Point's patented technology analyzes huge quantities of global data in seconds. Stop guessing. Start predicting trends 72 hours in advance. Text MONEY to 411-411 and experience Vantage Point for free. Text MONEY to 411-411 so you can protect and grow your capital now. Don't wait. Text MONEY to 411-411.
Go to VantagePointSoftware.com for terms, conditions, and privacy policy.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Free Talk Live. You bring up anything that you want. In these remaining moments, we have enough time for you. Just dial in toll free at 855-450-FREE. With you tonight, it's Ian.
And Arya.
And Arya, where are you blogging these days? You had a sheriff's campaign. You wrote some really epic blogs over at Arya4Sheriff. That's Arya4Sheriff.com. I'm
still blogging there and at reformedsatanicchurch.com. It depends on what I'm blogging about.
The content.
Like right now I'm working on thing about, ego and people clinging to ego so much that they'd rather do anything they can to perpetuate their own existence, no matter how miserable that existence becomes.
Right.
And that belongs on the Reformed Satanic Church site and not the campaign site. So if it's something politically related, it's going to end up there. Or if it's something that's more sociological, it's going to end up on reformedsatanicchurch.com.
Good stuff. Get on over there and check her out as we continue with more of your calls and thoughts. Let's go first to JT, calling us from Pennsylvania. You're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead, JT.
Oh, thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
Hey, the coroner and the sheriff have all the power, but when you get booked in the state of Pennsylvania, whatever you have on you, you may as well write that off because you're not getting it back.
Really?
Now, absolutely.
So they just jack all the money from you?
They call it a contribution. They call it a contribution. So if you plan on getting booked, hide your money. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. So if you're going to do civil disobedience in Pennsylvania, don't bring money along.
Well, they could always just call it civil asset forfeiture.
Or anything else. I mean, if for whatever reason you intentionally or arbitrarily broke a law, you're going to get mailed and whatever you got on you,
fun
that's
fact,
theirs.
the first time I was arrested, I was 16. They confiscated my cigarettes. They gave them back to me when they released me. I don't think it occurred to them what they were doing.
They did that in another state for me, but they joked about every item, like this and that. Oh, we're joking about this. We're joking about that. Well, what about the freaking 10 grand in
we're
my
just
car
gonna
that
joke.
you got in a lockup somewhere that I got to take a taxi to go get my car.
That sucks.
Happy Thanksgiving.
JT, thank you for the call. I appreciate it, man. And we will be live on Thanksgiving. I would like to clarify that. So feel free to tune into us tomorrow night, and you'll get to hear about our Thanksgiving Day hijinks, which I can't say anything else about at the moment. Let's go to Gene, the Christian anarchist. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Gene.
Yeah, I wanted to do another COVID update from the doctor's office. We've got there's quite a few more COVID cases now, so there definitely does seem to be something to the cases rising.
Okay.
But again, we're still not seeing very, very sick patients unless they're extremely old or in very, very poor health. So this thing, it's got a very, very low fatality rate. The IFR rate is very low on it if you're under 65. And I did notice something strange, though, and that is, every year we go through this season, it's flu season, and we have flu tests that we do in the office. And typically, I don't know, maybe 30 to 40% of all the flu tests we give out come back positive. But not this year. I've seen the statistics that show that flu is down close to zero and COVID is way up. And I tried to figure out why that would be, and it's actually coming true in our office because the people we give flu tests to are coming up negative. I don't think we've only had but a handful of positive flu cases this year, which is extremely unusual.
Why? Why is that?
Well, I heard speculation that it's possible that the COVID virus is chasing out the flu virus because they compete for hosts.
Really?
And that's
you can't catch them both at the same time, or are you catching one?
Apparently not, because apparently these meat popsicles can only, host one type of a thing at a time, or one could take over and the other one would have to compete and would fail in competing.
It's like mold and mushrooms, essentially.
Yeah, it's what somebody speculated in the scientific community, and I don't claim to be a scientist, and I don't claim to be a doctor. I can only tell you what's happening in our medical office. I'm just the administrator. But the fact is, we're coming up with almost no positive flu tests, and we are coming up with a lot of positive COVID tests. But again, some of these people aren't even sick. In fact, if you're not sick, I wouldn't even get tested.
Hell
I don't know
no.
why. Well,
I wouldn't get sick. I wouldn't get tested if I was sick.
I'm not going to get tested if I'm sick either. But if I were to do a test, it would only be some sort of at-home test where, and I presume something like this exists, maybe it doesn't, but where I don't have to share the results with anyone. I don't go into some sort of database or whatever. That would be the only way, and that would just be out of curiosity.
Yeah, that test doesn't exist yet. I'd like to try that myself.
Yeah.
But now, some people do for tests. I know Mark had to take one for his trip. He had to take a test
I don't know. I mean, maybe it was real, maybe it wasn't. How would you know?
You think?
I mean,
that's true.
Yeah, I mean, all they want to see is the piece of paper that shows that you were clean, right?
Yeah, I suppose there's going to be a market for those counterfeits.
From what I understand, there is a market for that. And where you get them, I don't know, but I suspect the darknet knows. Gene, thanks for the call tonight. Thanks for the update. I appreciate hearing from you. So, Aria, there was a brief story that since we've been talking about businesses and refusing to obey these government diktats regarding how to run their business or not to run their business or close down or, et cetera and so on. There apparently has been a few businesses recently in New Hampshire that have been targeted for fines by the state. Recently, there were 3 more announced at $500 fines. This one's $1,500, though. What happened?
This one is coming to us from Concord. A New Hampshire restaurant fined $1,500 following a complaint from some Karen about a lack of social distancing and mask wearing during the coronavirus pandemic. The Attorney General's office said it assessed the penalty against Grumpy's Bar and Grill, and I guess that's Plasto, after the restaurant on November the 14th was visited by a police officer who was following up on a photo taken the day before showing overcrowding, standing and mingling in the bar area, no social distancing between tables, and no face covering. Sounds like a pretty awesome bar.
Yeah, how dare people go in and actually choose to make a choice for themselves?
The Attorney General, in its letter to Grumpy's, said it also had been notified earlier in writing that 6 feet is required between the tables. The number of people in the bar must be restricted in order to maintain the 6-foot distance, and standing and mingling in bar areas is prohibited. They actually included the photograph here, evidently.
Wow.
Taken on November the 13th. It's a pretty busy bar, and
nice.
There's no social distancing. There are no masks.
That's awesome.
Quite a nice picture.
Unfortunately, the owner is acting like a little bitch.
He is. Is he?
It should be later in the story.
The owner said establishments in nearby Massachusetts had closed earlier under new rules, and, quote, so we ended up with a serious overflow that we weren't ready for. He said, since then, we've taken measures so that won't happen again. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You are correct. Separately, 3 recent cases of the virus were associated with the bar with possible community exposure on November the 10th and November the 14th. The restaurant has said on its Facebook page that the entire establishment has since had a, quote, deep sanitizing clean. But they've also fined other places. Last week, the Attorney General's office fined a bakery, a bagel shop, and a pizza place $500 each after repeated complaints about staff not wearing masks during the coronavirus pandemic. So this is how it starts. Everyone gave them the benefit of the doubt at first, saying, but they're not actually issuing fines. They're just giving people warnings. Okay, but the fines have officially started now for people not wearing masks in restaurants. And you're not fining the patrons, the ones not wearing the masks, or the employees. You're fining the business owner, turning the business owner into a law enforcement officer. And I don't know how anyone can be okay with that. That's literally fascism. That's how you get fascism.
I'm trying to find it. I don't have it with me right now, but there's news about, I believe it was the bakery that you were referring to at the end of that story. The Liberty Defense Fund, which is the new legal fund. Here it is. The bakery. Does it say the name of it?
It does not.
So, Bedford Bakery called... not jumping out. Simply Delicious Baking. Owner received a $500 fine by mail from the Attorney General's office for operating in violation of the governor's emergency order and civil penalties of up to $1,000 per violation, etc. Thomas McLeod, chairman of the Liberty Defense Fund for New Hampshire, says these emergency mask orders are an overreach and overreaction to the actual facts surrounding COVID-19 outbreak. So far, the governor has had near dictatorial powers in issuing his various emergency orders with very little pushback. It's important the court step in to vindicate violate individual liberties. Especially in times like these, we need the courts to uphold the rule of law and administer justice, protecting the minority from overreaches of the majority. So they are paying for an attorney for this bakery owner to fight this.
Awesome.
So we'll keep you in the loop as that develops, and we'll see you tomorrow. freetalklive.com. Happy Thanksgiving.
Mounds and mounds of fur. Our hairballs have hairballs.
Our cat Mama, she's 10 years old. She has dandruff and an oily coat.
I have 2 cats, Dixie and Daisy. Daisy sheds like crazy.
If you love your pets as much as I do, you want to do what's best for them to live long, healthy, happy lives.
DINOVITE.com. I just tried this wonderful Catalicious Dynovite for cats, and my cat has been on it for 2 weeks. She is not scratching anymore. She's not chewing anymore. It is just the best.
I was thrilled when I heard Dynovite for cats was coming out because I'd seen the changes in my dog. To introduce my cat to Dynovite, I took the advice from Dynovite and put their food on top of just a scoop in the bowl, just to get them used to it, because I know if I even switch one little thing, they put their nose up to it. There was not one problem.
Dynovite for life.
You won't believe how happy your cat will be.
DINOVITE.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first